Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
Here we are, Big Browns
Victory
win.
Monday. We have a half a pitcher. Is there some symbolism that the glass is only half full?
Nah, it's all the way full in spirit.
Oh,
Anthony just didn't have a lot of time to make it.
10:59.
Anthony just said, no, I was just running late.
That's enough.
That's all the Kool-Aid we could fit in the jar right
Yeah,
now.
that's it right
Hey,
now.
I don't care if it's half full or not. 8-5. You're sitting in a nice, comfortable playoff spot, as comfortable as it can be, with 5 teams behind you at 7-6. That's nuts. This is a crazy NFL playoff season.
I think it's 16.
It's 6 at 7.
It goes down to 11. You're right. 11. Think of that. There's 16 teams in the division. 11 of them are 7-6 or better.
Buffalo, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, Indianapolis, Houston, Denver, all 7-6.
It's unbelievable. Cincinnati's currently in the 10. Buffalo's in the 11. If you would have said coming into the season that those two teams, which were widely considered front runners, would be right now on the outside looking in and at 10 and 11, you wouldn't believe it. But a lot to get to today. First and foremost, a huge win. Let's do our shotgun intros. We'll start down with Bull.
It was a great victory for the Browns. There's always complaints that people have after every win, which is, we've gotten to the point now where there are people complaining about the win not being dominant enough or whatever.
We're nitpicking.
Yeah, it's crazy. The bottom line is Trevor Lawrence played. He didn't play a great game, but it wasn't because of the ankle. There's no way he had a high ankle sprain because he looked physically fine.
Well, he never ran, though. He only left the
Yes, he
pocket
did.
twice.
Well,
he
ran a
ran
couple of times.
twice past the line of scrimmage.
I know,
He was
but
running around. I
was
thought he
moving.
was
I never saw that burst that I'm willing to run.
I don't know. He ran a couple
quarterback.
of times, maybe not as much, whatever, but he looked like he was nobody's 100% this time of year. You got a million backup quarterbacks going. He was fine. The Browns played really well defensively. The Jaguars didn't score have a touchdown drive of more than 25 yards until the fourth quarter when the Browns had kind of, put things under control, even though it got nerve-wracking at the end. And isn't it poetic that the game essentially ends yesterday with Joe Flacco getting a win in Cleveland? And the last time Joe Flacco got a win in Cleveland, it was because the Jets got an onside kick. And in this game, his next win in Cleveland is when the Browns recovered an onside kick to not allow Jacksonville to get the ball. Flacco was very, very good in this game. The passing game leading the way because the Browns' once vaunted running game, it sucks.
Yeah, I'll agree on that one. You ain't gonna catch me on this one. I told Mike behind the glass on the 2-minute warning. I said, "This is terrible. I got to go up there and see these other two jokers up there tell me about the run game. This is horrible."
Argue that it doesn't suck. You know I am. Because there's one running back that's running it very well. He's just not touching it enough.
Can't get no tape.
We got plenty of time for that. Jay, your instant reaction.
We're going to talk a lot about Joe Flacco today, but I just want to take a minute and tell you why I love the Flacco story so much. And it really sort of taught me a lesson in all of this because he didn't retire. He wasn't asked to come back. And so I think this really means something to him because he got thrown out of the club before he was ready. And so he said yesterday, like, listen, I'm not great with words, but like this is very meaningful to me because he's getting the walk up 18 now that he didn't get before. He didn't get a watch, he didn't get a cake. He was told you're not good enough, and that's just not true. And too many times when guys are out of the league, I've made the comment of, well, they're out for a reason, and that's not necessarily true. And I'm still going to stand by Kareem's on 3 wheels, but he has been a contributor to this team. He's filled a role, a very important, necessary role to this team. He's not the Kareem Hunt of the Kansas City days and even the early Cleveland days, and that's the point I was trying to make with that. And that's still true, but he's still holding a valuable role to this team, and now Flacco is as well. The touchdown leader, and Joe's going to wind up leading this team in passing, by the way. He's about 600 yards to go. So the leading passer and the leading scorer in touchdowns both started the season on their couch. And they were given another opportunity, taking full advantage of it. So it's cool to see guys like that thought that their careers were over, get an opportunity to come back and get another run. And the Browns, it doesn't matter who's on the field, They always believe that they have enough. And that's an important culture tone that Andrew Berry and Kevin Stefanski set this year of, they made the comment like Ronnie Hickman is a rookie and Cam Mitchell's a rookie. And Kevin said, we don't have any rookies anymore. Like, it is week 14. Yeah. There's no such thing as a rookie. And if you're next man up, you're expected to perform and produce. And this is why that they're there, because of all the injuries. And they keep finding guys like Flacco, Kareem Hunt, Cam Mitchell, Ronnie Hickman, and they keep performing.
And by the way, when's the last time the Browns had a team that next man up actually worked?
Yeah.
It's been a long time.
Yeah. It's not just next man up. It's next man up at the sport's biggest position.
Yep.
Also, I love the way you bundled Flacco and Hunt.
Yeah.
Because there are so many similarities in both these guys. You're right. They were told by 32 teams, not just to start the season, but a couple weeks into the season. And for Flacco, 2/3 of the way into the season, we're good. Stay home.
How do you think the Jets feel right now? Aaron Rodgers goes down in week 1. They had him there last year.
Absolutely.
And they said, no, we're going to go with Zach Wilson.
Well, he actually played a really good game yesterday.
He did.
He did, but at one point, he's been benched.
He's terrible. Yesterday he played great.
If they call Joe Flacco and Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, what's the Jets' record today?
Yeah,
Where are
good
they
question.
today?
What you got, G?
Well, first and foremost, man, shout out to Flaccavelli. The bird calls are in the game. Yeah, Flaccavelli, I told you, 303 touchdowns. I had it on. I had it on the topics. You saw it on my headlines. You know exactly what it is. Hey, we'll get to Joe Flacco in a second. But by the way, listen, if we get over 1,000 likes, 2,000 likes, I'm going to give this shirt away right here. King of the North.
The one you're wearing?
You're going to wash it? Or just
sign this one and give it away.
Sign this one and give it away?
I like that idea.
I got to put it in a bag, and they don't want my signature. Y'all just want your shirt.
No, it's G. Bush's shirt. Sign it and give it away.
We're not going to sign this and give this away. We're going to package it and give you a brand new one. I am keeping this one. If you get 2,000 likes, I'm giving this away. And when it comes to the barbershop coming up later on at 3 o'clock, I'm going to actually give away 2 more of these shirts. So go ahead. We can do that. But let's get back to this game. Listen, this has been so enjoyable for me because this makes me feel like I'm a kid again. So often that we got to a point where everything was boiled down to just the quarterbacks and boiled down to the lowest common denominator. Well, we forgot that in football, it's about 11 guys doing their job, all working on one accord, trying to work to a common goal. And at its core, that's what football is. And it just goes to show you that we hear so many times if Deshaun Watson is done, the Browns are done. Or if Josh Allen is done, they have no chance. The Cleveland Browns are showing you in real time, 4 different quarterbacks, that if you still got people that refuse to back down, refuse to say that we are finished and don't punt seasons, this is what can happen. Joe Flacco was on his couch, and there's something to be said about learning about your own mortality. The second you realize that nothing is guaranteed and you should cherish every single day. Joe Flacco keeps saying, I'm out here playing, and I feel like a 10-year-old kid. I feel like I'm out here just really like being out here, just being in the locker room with the guys, just being a dude that's part of something. And he said, I was watching these guys. Now I'm just thanking them for having me in. And the reality of it is, without him getting cut from the Jets, I don't think he plays like he does today. I think it's all wrapped into one thing, and it's a timeline that can only happen this way. This is a special team. This is a special time. And I want to tell everybody, lock in, because I don't think you're going to see this very often. Don't be a person that is missing what's happening on the field in a special place because you're worried about all the outside stuff. The Cleveland Browns are for real. The Kool-Aid is for real. They've already drank it multiple times, and they believe that this team can beat anybody that they play. And it just goes to show you that they don't quit, they don't fall off. It may not be perfect, it may not be cute, but this is the funnest I've ever had watching the Cleveland Browns in my 42 years because of the attitude and the spirit they got, because it shows you the sum of the parts can be better or bigger or more special than just one person.
Isn't part of the fun that it feels like they're playing with house money because there's been so many injuries?
Yeah.
That it's like, if they went to the playoffs and lost in the first round, like, you couldn't kill them. Look at what they've put up with to get here. On the other hand, you feel like they can just keep winning and winning. The Browns have the best strength of victory of any contender in the league.
Think about that, too. Let that marinate.
Yeah.
That's big. That's strength of schedule in college football. They've I think you're right about the house money thing, although I do have playoff expectations, and we can get to that later. I really, the only thing that I would add to what the three of you said, and I'm with you, this is the most fun I've had at least since the 20 season. I mean,
that season was very fun, too.
That season was fun because that was the turnaround season.
Yep.
That was the one that proved that actually there wasn't some sort of spiritual curse on the
Right.
city of Cleveland and the Browns and all of that, and that they could win and they could go to the playoffs. And a win over the Steelers in the playoffs. I mean, it's going to be hard to top that this year, but I think this team has the ability to do that. For me, we talked about, and you touched on the Flacco kind of sort of resurgence. We talked about when the Browns signed him about how sometimes a player views his career and his life once he thinks it's over. You and I talked about how when I was away from baseball for a number of years, I literally would have dreams of putting a uniform on again. I know you've told me you've had the same dreams where you're padding up and you can hear the ambiance in the locker room and you feel the excitement of the game building and getting ready to run out of the tunnel, and then you wake up. Yeah. And that is a gut punch. It is the worst feeling you can have. Joe Flacco lived that every day for the 2023 season until his phone rang with Cleveland. I learned something this morning that I didn't know, and maybe you guys knew this. Ryan Clark this morning on Get Up mentioned that Joe Flacco auditioned for the Inside the NFL.
The Browns
I have
hang
the clip
30.
if you want to hear it.
Oh, you clipped that?
Oh, yeah. Let's hear it.
Oh, okay.
Steve, take it full.
Play it. I didn't know that. It's the first I've heard this.
Take it full. Let's hear it.
One on Jacksonville, 3 touchdowns for
Joe Flacco.
Joe Flacco. What are we seeing here, RC?
Well, I'll tell you a secret. Joe Flacco actually tried out and auditioned for Inside the NFL, which I host on Tuesday. I'm glad we didn't take him. Joe Flacco is absolutely throwing the skin off of the football. And the one thing
When I heard that, I said, wait a minute. Ryan Clark, you're burying the lead. He hasn't said that all year.
Right.
So for me, not that he couldn't have said, guys, I'm walking away, but he may have really liked his role. Inside the NFL, I think everybody would agree, was kind of that mandatory watch for NFL fans. He may have settled into that role and said, I really like this, and I don't want to tap out because if I tap out, I may not get this chair back.
You're right.
So that was a mind-blowing headline that I hadn't heard. I know Ryan. I know people on that show.
I bet you get
behind
it.
the scenes. No one told me Flacco tried
I
out.
bet you get it next time. Because
I think he
his
might.
story is elevating.
Now, when I heard, we asked his high school coach about Joe's career, and I think he'd make a great coach. And his college coach said he thought he'd make a good commentator. I have to tell you, I'm not sure Joe Flacco would make a good commentator.
No, I don't think so.
I think
He
his
said
comments,
yesterday he's not good with words.
He's good with words. If you parse the words and just read them on the paper, you're like, wow. But as you guys know, it's not about what you say, it's how you say it. And Joe Flacco, although he's smart, well-spoken, he doesn't punch anything. And the problem with commentators like that is you can't separate a really strong thought from Joe Flacco from a mid-thought from Joe Flacco because they're all delivered in a very even keel, and you don't know what he really wants to stress. I don't personally think he'd make a good broadcaster. I'm thrilled that the folks at Inside the NFL thought that too.
He makes a pretty good quarterback, though.
By the way, when the Browns signed Joe Flacco, I think we all said, maybe not G, but I know the rest of us all said, let's hope he doesn't have to play.
Yeah.
Right?
I said that.
We all said it.
Yeah.
I was excited.
And
Also, if you go back to our Week 4 conversation, we all were saying, why aren't you calling Joe Flacco?
yeah.
So, I mean...
But in the perfect world, you didn't want him to play, and now he's played very well. We'll see. Can he keep it up for the rest of the season? Who knows?
Well, I love
But
the
so
fact
far,
that
he's
he
played
had to
great.
be asked yesterday in the news conference, is he your starter going forward? Yeah.
What you talking
Gotta
about?
ask the
Anybody that's
question.
watching Browns football in 2023, that's not a question. The bigger question is, and this can be discussed, do you extend him for next year?
Well, we'll get there in a
We got the
sec.
2-year deal on the table, Artie.
Why not? Why
applauding.
not? We found out this year just how important the backup quarterback is. Or we go back to P.J. Walker. I mean, I'm good if you guys want to do that.
Yeah, okay,
Mikey.
yeah.
We
our
will
first
talk
hello,
plenty
good
of
morning
Joe
to you.
Flacco. Happy Victory Monday. We got so many winning FanDuel tickets that we're going to spread them out throughout the week, and we're going to start with the biggest of the weekend, and we'll get to that in one sec. But first, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is easy to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. And shout out to my guy, Matt Kolker, who turned $50 into $1,500 this week. He had the Browns money line, Flacco over passing yards, Njoku over receiving yards, Cooper over receiving yards, Moore over receiving yards, Ford over receiving yards, and Flacco over half a touchdown. That turned $50 into just shy of $1,500. So shout out to Matt. We got a ton of FanDuel tickets. We'll spread them out throughout the week. A lot of winners on the Browns. Kudos to you guys. Keep sending them to us. But guys, Joe Flacco, let's grade the performance as we do every Monday when we play Monday morning quarterback. He was good against the Rams. Was he even better in your eyes against Jacksonville?
No question.
He was a lot better.
Question. I give him an A. Even his pick, guys, I thought wasn't on him. There was obviously contact with the crosser, and he threw the ball where he was supposed to throw the ball. The receiver couldn't get there for mitigating factors. But take that pick out, 26, 45, 311, 3 touchdowns. Hell yeah. I'm just surprised the QBR so low. But
the 26 of 45 is not great.
That dinged him. But again, I counted at least 4 drops. And if he's 30 for 45.
I hear you. But you can say that about every quarterback in every game.
Yes, but the Browns lead the league in drops. And again, drops have been a problem. And I know you can't say that about every quarterback, but 4 drops gets you to 30-45, which gets you to 67% completion.
Well, I was surprised because I was looking at some of the advanced numbers. In the last 2 weeks, his advanced metrics, I know we don't care about it because he on the eye test, he's playing well and they're winning. The advanced metrics don't like him, and I think it's the incompletions, the interceptions, the fumble. The fumble was on him yesterday. I was talking to a couple guys who felt like, they called a great blitz, and the Browns didn't have enough guys to protect over there, and Joe has to recognize that and get the ball out a little bit faster. So the fumble was on him, and so I think that's what dings him for on the analytics side and the advanced stats side, EPA and all that stuff. But the eye test is he's a competent quarterback, and Kevin Stefanski has full faith in him because he knows the ball's going to go to the right spot.
You give him an A?
Yeah, I'd give him an A.
Yeah.
You got to factor in all these things.
Yes.
I mean, he's 39 years old. He's been on the couch. He hasn't played consistently well in about 8 years.
He's not yet 39. January.
Well, he'll be 39 in a couple of weeks.
Yeah,
I mean,
okay. Hey, listen, as somebody in an advanced age, don't call me 50.
All right.
I'm going to fight you every time on that.
And it does. It feels like, at least I'm holding my breath. Like, okay, can they squeeze another month out of him?
Yeah.
How long is this going to last?
Right.
Is this for real? Is the final grains of sand going to fall through the hourglass? But to this point, he's given the best quarterback, the most consistent quarterback play of anyone. I know it's only 2 games.
Yeah.
But again, Kevin knows where the ball's going, and you kind of laugh and say, well, yeah, he's our starter. No, you don't understand. Kevin Stefanski won't confirm what day of the week it is. And he said he hitched his horse to Joe Flacco for the rest of the season.
Which is why I think it was such a no-brainer. I mean,
but
you're right.
Huge.
He doesn't give you anything at all as to next week.
You
and the
could
fact
ask.
that
You
he
could
said
call
write it in pen.
If
essentially.
if you're on the record, you could call him up right now and say, "Kevin, is today Monday?" And he'd say, "I'll check back. We'll check back."
Yeah, we're going to circle back. We're going to talk about it, and I'll get back to you tomorrow.
Yeah, I'll let you know
think
tomorrow.
But it won't be Monday anymore.
I think this shows you once again how good a coach Kevin Stefanski is. But we'll get more of that later. But it's definitely an A if you just factor in everything. Has he been perfect? No. But look at he looks like the offense has a rhythm and flow that we have not seen all year. Not for back-to-back games, not at all. Like the Browns had a flow in the Titans game. The Browns had a good flow the second half against Baltimore. But for the most part, the offenses looked weird and looked
disjointed.
Yes, disjointed is a perfect word. But for 2 weeks, this offense has had great rhythm, and he's had great rhythm. He's not going to be perfect. He's 39 years old, and he wasn't that good at 32. So, of course, he's not going to be great all the time. But the majority of the time, the last 2 weeks, he's made the right throw and made the right decision. And that's all you can ask. Forget it. He's done way more than you could have expected. Part of that's Kevin and the game planning, no doubt about it. But Joe Flacco deserves a ton of credit.
Do you give him an A?
Absolutely. No brainer.
And real quick, the touchdown pass to David Bell, we talked about it last week. I liken it to the goal line touchdown when he was with the Jets last year and they were in here when he read Grant Delpit was in the wrong spot. He read the zero blitz. He knew that it was open. He shaded just a little bit to the right and made the big throw.
And the DB fell down, which helped.
Well, yeah, that always helps. And David Bell took 2.5 weeks to get into the end zone. But, hey, he scored.
He actually just scored.
Joe Flacco is faster running down. Like, look at the enthusiasm and the energy that Flacco has. His old ass is running down the field, all excited.
He's not Lamar Jackson in the pocket. He can move better than I thought that he could. He's been flushed a couple of times. And
that
I
one
thought,
well, he steps,
all right,
Jason, there was that one play where it looked like he was going to get sacked.
He was in
and
goal.
He spun out of it.
He was in goal.
And he ran over. I was like, damn, Flacco can move a little bit. He's not running down the field.
He had that, they came after the ball. He had the grip strength to hold onto the ball, the ability to stay on his feet, and I know exactly which play you're talking about. So he can move enough to keep himself alive. You're not going to be calling quarterback rollouts with him very often and all that. But he can keep plays alive at least and keep moving. He can move better than I thought that he could.
And let's face it, it's just nice to see a quarterback who's 6 foot, whatever the hell he is.
He
looks like a big, strong dude.
Doesn't he? He looks like the strong, big, tall pocket passer.
Yeah.
And the offense, you always complain, and it's a fair complaint. Why doesn't our offense look like other NFL offense? It does. For the last 2 weeks, it has looked like a real NFL offense. That when you're at 3rd and 8, you're not telling the punter, get loose. You feel like at 3rd and 8, you've got a chance with this guy.
Yeah. I listen, he's a throwback. I'm going to give him an A-. The only reason I give him an A- is because he had the fumble. I don't put the interception on him. But, he reminds me of the times that you hang out with your grandfather and you got a mentor. They teach you, man stuff like, okay, this is how
to tie a knot.
Tie a knot. Here, I tie your tie. Or you sit with him and they teach you how to grill. And he's a man of very few words. Don't say much, but if you listen and you just sit and be quiet, you're going to learn something that you could use later on in your life. Joe Flacco is like one of those guys.
So we're calling him Grandpa Joe
Yeah,
now.
Grandpa Joe is out here. Now, you look at what he's been able to do and why he's so successful. If you take a look at it, he's part of another generation. See, there's generations in quarterbacks, right? And one of the things that Joe Flacco is able to do, and when he can run play action, that is a lost art. It's like a lost science. People are like, oh, that's the mind calendar.
Well, in this offense, it has been.
Because I think it's in the league in general, because he does it so well because he's so deliberate. It's like he's moving in slow motion, and he wants that safety to see it. He wants that linebacker to see it. And when you can run play action like that, now you give your receivers a couple extra seconds to get off the line of scrimmage, a couple extra seconds to get downfield to run their routes. And so Joe Flacco, to me, is a guy who, when you have that experience, it's like dancing. Kevin Stefanski don't have to tell him how to do the waltz or the two-step. He comes in right here, musically inclined, knows what to do, knows what the footsteps on the bootleg's supposed to look like. So now all Stefanski has to do is say, let's go ahead and run this because you like this. And the thing that makes it so impressive, when you look at his progressions, he has so much experience. He can get to his first target. And if his first target is not there, he don't even have to look at 2 and 3 in a progression. Because he knows, if that ain't there, I know what defense they're running, those two aren't. And what he was doing, right out to the running back right now. Now you give your running back 2 or 3, 4 extra yards because now you're getting into Kareem Hunt, you're getting into Jerome Ford, and they're getting the opportunity to make people miss and just move the sticks. So those things, those little small details, the devil's in the details. And Joe's doing all the small things, which is really making the offense move and getting them in a good position.
I think there's one stat that for me drives home what he's been able to do. Go back to Brian's site and count in your head the number of quarterbacks this team has had. You can't. You'd lose track at 30. He's the first quarterback since Brian's site to have 3 touchdown passes in a game of 30-plus yards.
Since 1980.
Like, you literally have to stop and say, wait a minute, what? With all the quarterbacks, Bernie, I know there's been a lot of bad quarterback play.
I would like to go back to that Sipe game and see those throws. And this is to take nothing away from Joe. These dudes are wide open.
Wide open.
And it's not that he's throwing these great passes 30 and 40 yards.
No, he's not.
It's simple plays that are turning into home runs because There ain't nobody around.
Well,
these
isn't
guys.
that his veteran eyes dissecting
Absolutely.
defenses
It's
and
great
seeing,
play calling.
you're going to give me the left quadrant of the field? I got this.
McNuggets, put that back up. You see that last graphic? You
Which
see
one?
it.
With the 3 touchdowns against the
Yes.
Bills?
When you got DTR, and why I said give me Joe all day, and besides DTR, I like DTR. I gave him his nickname. But this is the stat. 3 touchdowns versus the blitz. Instead of Joe being flustered, not understanding the blitz is coming, getting sacked, doing stuff, he wants the blitz.
Sure.
That's where you come up with when they say you can't blitz that guy. Don't blitz him because he's going to find. He finds the open guy versus the blitz, and that's the biggest difference between a veteran and a young quarterback. He makes you pay when you blitz.
Yeah.
So now you got to think about it. Do I want to blitz Joe Flacco because he's a little more mobile than I thought?
And to your point, when you blitz him, you open yourself up to he's going to find whoever it is open and on busted coverage.
This is going to be one of my my McNugget stats, but I'll give it to you now because it's this good, and G brought it up. His actual numbers against the blitz on Sunday: 9 for 12, 182 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a perfect passer rating.
Now, the only problem with that is Houston gets those numbers too. And so does the Jets and Chicago and Cincinnati. So for me, it tells me he's going to – and this is the way of the league. This is football. When there's a book on you, not that there wasn't already a book on him, but I think the NFL had figured, Father Time caught up to him on the couch. Let's throw the blitzes at him. I think moving forward from here, you're going to see a lot smaller blitz rate against Joe Flacco because that's how he's been beating teams.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree. I think each team is not going to – teams do what – if it's a strength of a team, they're going to do it. They're not going to change it because so far in 2 games, Joe Flacco has had success against the blitz. Every team thinks they could do it better or do it a different way.
Well, good. Keep doing it. I hope they do. But I don't think they're that dumb.
I don't think that makes you dumb.
I think if you look at the tape and you say, how is he beating us? He's clearly beating teams when they're sending the extra man. So please, keep doing it. I'm begging you, Chicago, bring the house. Houston, bring it.
I don't know. Careful what you wish for.
No, bring it. He'll find it. The line, you know what's crazy to me? I think, and we're going to get to the line, but if you're looking for the real unsung hero in all of this, it's every man that's played all the snaps that has been the offensive line for the Browns in 2023. Because how they're keeping him upright, it's a miracle. Now, I know that they're jumping and they're moving and there's stupid penalties and all of that, but it just drives home Bill Callahan's strength. And the offensive line had to play as well as they did yesterday, or it's not a win. And I credit them a lot for what the Browns were able to accomplish.
James Hudson is awful at right tackle, but the rest of the O-line is playing really well.
Oh, my God. Listen.
Thankfully, we don't see him that much.
Leatherwood cannot be that bad. He cannot
I don't know,
be.
man.
He must be. He's a first-round pick, and he can't even get off the practice squad.
I don't understand it. James Hudson is just moving around. Like, what are you doing?
When is Jed? I can't believe I'm asking
this
for Jed
is crazy.
back. But when's he eligible to come off IR? Is it this week?
God, it's got to be close.
4 weeks, right? It's got to be.
Hasn't he missed 4 games already?
I'll double check.
Yeah.
Jason, you were in the locker room, though. What were the other guys saying about Joe Flacco and what he did on Sunday?
Love him. They the guys I talked to thought I think everyone's surprised by this. No one really knew what to expect. No one knew what he had left. And he's just sort of come in and taken everything by storm. And, I was talking to one guy, we were talking about Trevor Lawrence earlier, who said, there ain't no way that's a high ankle sprain. I don't know what he had, but this guy was talking, he's like, I've had high ankle sprains. You can't move like that.
Well, was he taped?
So,
you guys saw the tape job, I'm sure.
Yeah. So, but in terms of, I just popped into my head, but in terms of how they responded to Flacco, again, it goes back to they feel like they know where the ball's going to be. They know the ball's going to be in the right spot. And it's going to be on time and on target. He's going to get it out quick for the most part. He had the fumble when he needed to get out a little bit faster. And even Flacco said that. He said, with the touchdown pass, he felt like he felt it coming and he knew to shift to the right and make the throw. And he said, but as soon as I say that, I got blitzed from the right side and lost the ball when it was right there in front of me. So, there's still kinks to work out. The more reps he gets, the better he's going to be. We can talk about practice reps and all that and how important they are. And I expect him to continue to play at this level. I think he can. But again, you're just sort of holding your breath and going, boy, I hope this lasts. I hope this lasts. I don't know how many magic beans are left in the pocket. But to this point, he's just been terrific.
Bears they play the Bears next week. Bears had a nice win over the Lions yesterday, which was
it's funny. With the exception of Houston, the teams that are left on the Browns' schedule, 3 of the 4 had really nice wins yesterday. The Jets, I mean, granted, he was playing a team that was pretty dinged up, but the Jets, the Bengals, and the Bears, all of a sudden, those aren't slam dunk easy wins. All of a sudden,
I was going to ask this question, Jason. How many more games do you need to see before you feel like this is sustainable? I can't believe this.
Well, I think we think that now. Like you have that hope now.
But you're not. Okay, let me rephrase it. When will you stop holding your breath?
When the season's over.
I agree.
Yeah, hope's not a plan.
Remember, it's a different year, and who knows? Maybe Joe Flacco's going to play 8 straight games, and maybe they're going to the Super Bowl. Who the hell knows? But this has been such a wacky year. I can't put anything past anybody. I don't know who's going to win the AFC.
But we thought the AFC was going to be the class. We were like, well, who the hell's going to be good in the NFC?
Yeah.
The NFC's got the top 3 records. It's crazy.
Yeah. Philadelphia looks terrible right now. The last 2 weeks they've got
but
slow.
I mean, they're still part of the 3.
But San Fran and Dallas look like the 2 best teams in football right now.
Unbelievable.
Although Baltimore, even though it was a wild game, I think Baltimore's the best team in the AFC right now.
But hey, look at all the playoff teams, the AFC and NFC. Every team in the playoffs that the Browns have played, they've beaten. Every team. Yeah. Now, they lost to Baltimore and they lost to Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
But they also beat Baltimore and Pittsburgh. They beat San Francisco. They beat Jacksonville. So every team right now that's in a playoff spot, the Browns have beaten them this year.
And Jacksonville, look, they're a division leader. Trevor Lawrence, I don't think he was that hobbled. I mean, he may have been 85, 90%, but the team you saw in Jacksonville is the team you will see come playoff time.
That could be a rematch, by the way, in a month.
Yep.
That
but they're also missing a good receiver. A really good receiver.
Anything could be a rematch at this point.
No, but I'm just saying, as it is right now, Jacksonville's 4 and the Browns
Yeah, but we're
5.
so. I mean,
I know.
But
the Jackson. Well, I shouldn't say that.
Right now, the Bengals and the Bills are 10 and 11. Would it surprise you if either of those teams made the playoffs? Because it wouldn't surprise me. Because Pittsburgh, I think Pittsburgh's going down the
Pittsburgh's going the wrong way.
When you guys watched Buffalo, Kansas City last night, were you rooting for one team over the other? I was rooting for Kansas City. I want the death knell on Buffalo.
I kind of agree with you.
Yeah.
I kind of agree with you.
Because they scare me, man. I don't want them in the playoffs. I don't want Cincinnati.
I mean, if you
the way Browning's playing, I don't want Cincinnati.
If you want to look at the scatter charts of EPA, Buffalo might be the best team in the AFC. And they're not even in the
Josh
playoffs
Allen's
right now.
having a good year despite popular criticism.
Did you see what happened in Buffalo last week with that article that came out on Sean McDermott?
Yeah.
Woo!
We'll get to that at Not a Victory Monday. That
I know.
Down on a Victory Monday. We're going to talk a little bit about the Browns defense, but first, as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is simple to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. We'll talk more Stefanski in a little bit. We'll talk more Flacco. We'll talk about the Davids going off. But let's talk about the defense first, guys. 4 turnovers, Emerson,
Mike,
Newsome.
real quick, before you get to the defense, I just wanted to mention, with FanDuel, Browns are a 3-point favorite. They open as a 3-point favorite at home against the Bears.
Thank you for that, both. 3-point favorite. If you're going to bet, make sure you send us a
Ooh,
ticket.
that's stealing.
Yeah.
But the defense, 4 turnovers, 3 interceptions, 2 from Emerson, 1 from Newsome. Myles Garrett played better than last week, got a sack in the 2-point conversion. What were your overall thoughts on how the Browns defense performed against a Jacksonville offense, missing some pieces, but still pretty dangerous?
Solid. Again, too many points allowed, but all of them obviously weren't on the defense. I was a little disappointed that when Jacksonville needed that last score, I wasn't ready to say this game was over. I don't know if you guys were, because I've seen that movie played out before.
No, I said the fans, our fans on the text were going nuts because I said that's it, game over. They said you can't say that. And I said yes, I can.
I felt like
this
it was
game
game
is
over.
Yeah, you can't say that because
we did
just last year.
We were right.
Yeah, and just last year everybody said game over and it wasn't. It's still the Browns.
No,
you know that. I was just disappointed that they gave up that last score. I wanted them to just make it simple. Just do what they did the previous possession and force them to give the ball away.
I thought that was a bad pass interference call. That kind of set them up on the goal line.
Terrible.
The Browns played very soft on that last possession.
They did, and I don't want them to play soft, even if they thought the game was.
3 of the 4 Jaguars touchdowns were on the soft final drive, and the other 2 were short fields.
The short field stuff was.
I thought overall, despite if you just saw the score, you'd say, the defense didn't play very well. I actually thought the defense played very well.
I thought
despite
the defense
the
played
score.
Well.
And in the end, this is. And I'm glad we've gotten to this point, because for so many years, the Browns were so bad that none of this mattered. But the Browns won. In the end, that's all that matters. How many points the defense gave up? The defense is smarting right now. Myles Garrett, I know he was a little better. He still wasn't a big factor in this game. Technically, it's a stupid rule. He doesn't get a sack because it was a 2-point conversion.
Yeah, I don't understand that either.
Which is a dumb rule, but it is what it is. He still wasn't a big factor in this game, but it was progress from last week. You still didn't have Denzel Ward, and I thought what was huge is that I thought it was Greg Newsome's best game outside I've ever seen him play, or at least in the last couple of years. I thought he played extremely well in this game. He got humiliated last week. Yep. He took it personally, and he played his ass off this week. I thought he played very well. We saw a couple of guys we had seen nothing from recently, like Maurice Hurst, had an impact in this game, and he hadn't done anything of late. So you think about this. Grant Delpit gets hurt. Juan Thornhill's a late scratch. No Denzel Ward. I thought the defense played very well considering everything they had to deal with.
What do you give them?
I give him an A-.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I agree, Boo. I think that earlier in the year, we were looking at the numbers, and we looked at, how many yards you're giving up, how many points you're giving up. Right. And we were like, this team is great. But the one thing that we kept talking about is they didn't get no turnovers. No turnovers. You got to force turnovers. They give you 4 of them.
Yeah.
They give you 4 of them, and a lot of those turnovers gave you the ball back after your team gave the ball away.
That's right.
So they did a really nice job. I thought that Martin Emerson, he made it. He tried to make a case not for just the Pro Bowl. He's trying to make his case for all pro. I thought he played a heck of a game. He came up on the run support. He had a really nice tackle and a little quick screen. 2 picks, 3 pass breakups on 1 man-to-man coverage. Thought he played his tail off. And you got to think about the other guys. I thought you were dead spot on with Newsome. Best game he's played so far. And by the way, people stepping up the little small stuff. Ronnie Hickman thought he showed up and showed that, hey, we can play without some of our main guys back there. And then one of the last thing here, Hopkins hit a 55-yarder. That was so underrated.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
That was super underrated right there.
Darius Smith had his first sack in forever.
After they called out.
Yeah.
I thought they were opportunistic.
Yeah.
And I think the announcers did a good job of saying this. The Browns on defense, a sign of a good defense is they can beat you anyway. They can beat you with interceptions. They can beat you with sacks. They can beat you with stopping the run. They can beat you with stopping the pass. They just beat them basically because they had way too many turnovers, and that's a sign of a good team that can play.
And you're facing a really good quarterback. I know he wasn't 100%. You can't. Early in the year, we got caught up in this all-time great. Obviously, the Browns are not an all-time great defense. They're a very good defense that's dealing with injuries. We can't compare it to what we saw earlier in the year when they were completely healthy. Right? It's different now. And you give credit to the quarterback, who, even though he threw 3 picks. He's a really good player. So you're not going to shut out the Trevor Lawrence. And by the way, something the Browns have been very bad at the last few weeks, last month really, stopping the run. The Jags couldn't run the ball at all in this game.
I'm surprised Etienne. I don't think he finished the game, but a buddy of mine that covers Jacksonville said Etienne's probably not going to play Saturday. He sent that to me.
Yeah, he was fighting injury.
Yeah, I didn't realize how. He said it's bad, and he said you've got 2 guys right now that are gutting through not just injuries but painful injuries. And you could tell that Etienne was not right just by the way he was running and trying to, at some point, avoid contact when he probably otherwise would have ran to it. I did think they caught a little bit of an injury break, but hey, I'm not apologizing for that.
Oh.
The Browns have given teams injury breaks all season long. I give them a solid B+. Again, and I know that you guys thought that the game was milked away, but there was drama. And whenever there's drama, I want the defense to stand up and at least keep the team out of the end zone. I thought they were going to make them settle for a field goal there because either way, you got to get a score. I wanted to see a big stand on that last drive, force them to turn it over on downs like they had the previous drive. But all in all, I mean, whenever you come up with 4 interceptions, you can't fault the effort of the defense. I do think Myles looked closer to Myles Garrett than he did last week.
I
It was just
I think he's hurting. I think
he is definitely hurting.
It was
There's no
better.
question he's hurting.
I don't think it was
But
close to
I thought
hurting.
his effort this week was better than it was last week. I just thought there were a lot of plays where he was close to getting home. I didn't really see that a lot out in Los Angeles.
McNuggets, did you see that? I think I was watching last night, PFF. Did you see the PFF grade where they said Myles Garrett had a 39% pressure rating?
Once Blake Hance came in.
Yeah,
So remember Blake Hance, who was on the Browns?
He was with us.
When Ezra Cleveland got hurt, they put Blake Hance in, and that's when Myles Garrett he played better from there because Blake Hance is not a starting caliber offensive lineman.
I think Blake held him every single play.
Yeah.
Well, we're gonna get to that in
I
one
was
sec.
looking at
By the
that
way-
matchup in particular, and I'm like, why are there not yellow flags all
Jay,
over the
I'll
field?
put a pin in that because we're going to get to that in 1 second.
One more thing on defense, Mike.
And then I have a Myles Garrett question, then we'll do officiating. Be the first one.
The Jaguars had one massive advantage that they took advantage of. Evan Ingram's an excellent tight end. The Browns had their safeties out, right?
Yep.
And so he was able to take advantage. You can't backup safeties on Evan Engram is a tough matchup, and he took advantage of that, and they were able to do that. He had a monster game. But besides that, I mean, nobody else on Jacksonville besides Engram had a great game.
No, a couple things on the defense. One, I texted this with our subscribers. I thought it was a major tell on 3rd and inches from their own 15. They took the deep shot. That's when Newsome had the pick.
Yeah.
Because they knew we can't move the ball on this. That's why I thought the defense was playing well. They got they got the scores on the short fields, but otherwise, until late in the game, Jacksonville, to me, didn't feel like they could move the ball on the Browns, which is why they took that ridiculous deep shot. Yeah. 3rd and inches. And you can't go for it on 4th down when you're on your own 15.
Nope.
If you don't get it there, you have to punt. And yet they still took that massive deep shot. And for the Browns defense to respond the way, we all thought, I've had Denzel Ward as my most important player. We all thought Denzel was going to play.
Yeah.
And then Denzel again is inactive. I was told that it's just a medical issue. They can't get him cleared because it's a range of motion issue in the shoulder. And obviously, as a cornerback, you got to be able to move your shoulder.
Right.
So I don't know with him. I don't know. I would hope we see him next week, but this has obviously been a slow recovery. And then Juan Thornhill tweaks his calf again pregame. That was a total surprise.
Yeah.
And minutes before the game, now he's scratched and can't go. And yet they continue to pivot and they continue to adjust. So just a terrific job by the defense. Yeah. No matter who's out there, they keep finding ways to get it done.
Good news next week, the Bears are not much of a passing team.
Yeah.
But they do have DJ Moore, who's good.
Well, but to your point that the teams that have hurt the Browns this year
the running
have been the
quarterbacks.
teams with the running quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, that didn't happen yesterday because he wasn't able to run. But typically, the running quarterbacks have given the Brown fits. And, let's just hope that you can't lose to the Bears. Not now. No. Not after that win
Not coming
yesterday.
off this.
You give back all of your goodwill.
By the way, I was looking at the you want me to hold this mic? I was going to talk about some of the playoff tiebreakers.
Yeah, hold that for
All
1
right,
sec.
hold
But
it.
one thing on Myles Garrett, then we'll talk about the officiating because Myles isn't the only one with a gripe coming out of yesterday's games. But, G, you mentioned Myles with the pass rush rate. I don't have the exact numbers. I'll have to go back and find it. There did feel like 3 or 4 plays yesterday where Myles was a split second away from causing complete chaos. And he gets credit with the pressures. And you look at last week versus this week, different game plans, different tackles he was going against. But he made more of an impact, not just by the eye test, but by the box score as well. And it seemed like by just a smidge, like literally a hair, he was away from doing what Antonio Johnson did to Joe Flacco, but on the other side to Trevor Lawrence. As for the officiating, Jay, we have the clip from Myles Garrett if we want to play it. And Myles Garrett, if you didn't hear, you'll hear in a sec, was not pleased with how the officials operated against him. We have 2 separate clips. This first is on the officials as a whole, and the second is on how he specifically is getting officiated.
When you listen to this, hear Pink Floyd's Money in your head because it's going to cost Myles Garrett some cash, but I'm sure he weighed that risk and said, you know what, I'll write the check gladly.
So we have 2 clips. So we'll play the first, then I'll introduce the second. But these are both Myles Garrett, and these are from Scott Petrak, who was at the game in the locker room or at the press conference talking to Myles after. Here's the first one, Myles on officiating as a whole.
As well. You can't make it harder by throwing, holding your hands to the face off the rule book. And like I said, I got a lot of respect for those guys, but we get scrutinized for the plays that we don't make, so someone has to hold them accountable for the plays or the calls they don't make, and they need to be under the same kind of microscope as we are every single play.
And here's the second clip. This is on how Myles himself feels he specifically is being taken advantage of by offensive linemen and the officials. And when you're ready, you can play that clip.
I don't want to say like what Watt said. The officials got something against me, but shoot, I'm close enough. This hacker chat crap got to stop. Y'all as dominant as we've seen, and we gonna let them get away with pretty much anything. It's ridiculous. You can't just let a guy put his fingers in your face mask and push your head up, or grab you around the back of your collar, or when he's out of position, so he's gonna snatch you from the front. All that stuff, we see, but we try to promote the offensive game. It's got to be called fair both ways. I don't care about any of that. Offense, defense has to be held to the same standard in more ways than one.
So, guys, thoughts? Does Myles have a point, or is he yapping just to yap?
No, he's got a point. Absolutely, he's got a point. He's probably held on almost every play. And he mentioned the hack-a-shack, and it's funny because when I was covering the NBA, they would talk about like LeBron and Shaq would get fouled every time they're in the paint, but they're not going to call it every time. And right. I'm sure it's the same thing.
Well, LeBron wants it called every time.
Well, he wants it called. But in Myles, it's the same way. Like, I'm sure they're telling these guys, just hold them, grab them, do whatever you have to do. They're not going to call it every time. They may get you once in a while, but they're not going to call it on every play. But what he's doing is he's shining the light on it now. And he's probably going to get, I bet you he's going to get more calls next week now.
Squeaky wheel gets the grease.
Yes.
I agree with that.
It may cost you $25,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is.
Light.
But if you get, with what he's making, if you get an extra holding call or two at the right time, it's worth it. Because then, if they call it a couple more times, then maybe it doesn't happen.
I also, it wasn't just about yesterday's game. Yesterday's game, there were some times where he was being egregiously held. Where I understand you can call holding on every play. But there are certain times where it jumps off your screen and you jump up and you're pointing, hold. That's happening far too often, not just in yesterday's game, but for the season. And I think you're looking at a guy who's making a run at Defensive Player of the Year. And I think that he realizes that he is being officiated differently from other guys. Maybe not differently than the league's top guys, because if you watch those guys too, they're held a lot with no calls. But I'm glad that he shined the light on this particular issue. Andy Reid did it as well. And if you talk about officiating in the macro, you're always going to have missed calls. It's inherent. You're always going to have calls that are missed. I know that Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes were going nuts over the offensive offsides call, particularly when it worked for a touchdown. It was such a brilliant play. There was no question he was offsides.
Right.
I mean, if you want to moan and complain at Tony for not knowing how to line up on a simple play.
Listen, I guess the complaint is wide receivers will often look to the sideline to get the okay that they're not offsides or whatever.
He did not do that.
He claims he did, they claim he did. The referee said he didn't. Who knows? He was offsides. I don't care. Generally, I find complaining about officials annoying and a nuisance. Fans always complain about officials. Fans always think their team is getting screwed by the officials. Fans always say that without any facts to back it up. Myles Garrett, it makes sense because, as we said, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. He might get some calls go his way this week. All the best pass rushers get held all the time. He's not the only one. He's one of the best. As you said, Jay, Watt, all these guys, they get held a lot. It doesn't get called. They're not picking on Myles Garrett specifically.
I think the better you are, the more likely they are to ignore the call.
Exactly. Well, because you're dominating so often, it happens so often. Yep. And it's another. And let's face it, we may complain, we want more calls, but we all hate when there's flags on every play. It drives you crazy. Yeah. So, listen, the officials, I think, do a good job overall. It's easy for us sitting at home with high def and slow motion to say calls are bad. I think by and large they do a good job. It usually balances itself out. You always think your team's getting screwed, but probably they're not.
I actually think that is what makes the officiating look worse than it is. There's more cameras and more angles than ever before.
Right.
Yeah. And the definition of the picture is better. The slow motion is better.
And it's great for getting calls right if you can challenge and everything, but it makes the officiating in real. I mean, these guys have to make calls like that, and it's. Until you're on the field, it is unbelievable how fast these guys are moving. It's incredible that they get as many calls right as they do.
I'm way more bothered by I'm not as bothered by a missed call as I am when they call something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like there's a phantom holding call or a
Or Amari
phantom
Cooper stepping out of bounds.
Right, exactly. That drives me really crazy because now you've called something you couldn't have possibly seen because it didn't happen.
And there's been a lot of picked up flags the last couple of weeks I've noticed in general.
Which is good.
Someone pointed it out to
Yeah.
me, and now since they pointed it out to me, I'm like, you know what? You're right. A lot of laundry, and then the next thing you hear is there's no flag on the play. What that tells me is someone saw something
Man, sometimes
and got talked out of it,
Yeah.
which maybe there were two officials that said, no, I was on it. It was good.
I think it's good that they're talking about these things. I think the replay. I'm sorry. Let me finish this and then go. I think replay in a perfect world. I don't know why they don't do this. The replay shouldn't be about this is reviewable and this is not. The replay should be if there's an obvious bad call and you could correct it in 30 seconds or left, you correct it.
Well, then
If you
obvious
can't, you
becomes
can't.
subjective.
Well,
Obvious. What's obvious to
What's
you?
obvious? Well,
you
I'm
know.
not the official. What's
Right.
obvious to the guy in the booth watching the game?
Right.
They have all this technology. We can see it at home if it's an obvious mistake. If it's borderline and you can't do it in 30 seconds, the call stands. Move on. Go.
One of the things, though, that makes me lose faith in the obvious is sometimes they show a replay and it's obvious on the first replay, and there's 5 minutes later they're looking at 6 different
Yeah,
angles. You're like, what's taking so
I don't
long?
know. It is
Well,
weird.
the reality of it is these referees sometimes anticipate calls.
Yeah. Yes.
You're anticipating, oh, that kind of looked like this is a place where I done seen holding take place.
Hate
but,
that.
And you're moving around and then all of a sudden the flag comes. Sometimes I think people that like the game of football, we get frustrated because we're sitting there watching the game and we don't want the game to be about the flags. Like nowadays, guys are throwing the football up. It's 3rd and 16.
Right.
They're throwing the football up, and they know you're not trying to really complete that. They're throwing it in double coverage to see if you get some contact.
That's right.
And it's a spot foul. I hate that. But in terms of Myles Garrett, I'll tell you what. Good job, big homie.
Yeah.
Listen, y'all got all that money. I would have a call out the referee kitty fund. I got all kind of money right here in the pot for you. I would call, he should be doing that 2-3 times a year, telling them how bad.
Well, the only problem with that, the next time the fine goes way up.
He don't care. Like they spend.
He's got multi-millions.
They spend $25,000 in the club. That's just on bottles of champagne.
He doesn't have Shohei Ohtani money, but he's got money.
That 100 plus
does.
million, 25, 35, 45, and he's single. He don't even got his wife to tell
That's
him,
true.
don't you better shut your mouth.
By the way, when you
Or
say
kids, because you say, like $100,000 fine, you're like, well, there goes an Ivy League
there it is.
year of tuition.
Gee, that's the anticipation fouls when it doesn't happen. That's what drives me crazy. It's even worse in the NBA. That happens
Oh, yeah.
all the time
Yeah,
in the NBA. It sucks.
It does. Well, a lot of times, too, I've noticed that receivers are, on third. It's funny, on 3rd and 18, you don't need a pass interference. A holding will work. And that's what drives you nuts. You're like, oh, now there's a hold call. Now it's an automatic first down. And what I've noticed a lot more of this year than any year in the past, and I'd seen it in past years, the wide receivers now are trained to get in tight to that defensive back and then throw your arm up in the air. Like, oh, he kept me from going in the direction I wanted to go. And then
It's
you
like
see
a
the flag
flop in
come
the
out.
NFL,
It's
the
exactly
NBA.
like a flop.
Yeah.
And you're like, wait a minute.
I know.
Just because he threw his arm up doesn't mean that he was held.
Yeah.
So, but you're right on the calls. We have so many angles. Everything now looks like you can determine, but we have slow motion and 15 cameras to work with. It's not an easy job, man. I wouldn't want to do it for anything. I would not want to be an NFL official.
Yeah.
We're going to move on, guys, and before we do, I do have a special announcement real quick. And on Thursday night at 7 p.m., you guys have asked for a live remote show. Well, we're bringing that to you. We will be live at Caesars at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse at 7 p.m. for a live Cavs watch party. The Monsters are playing that night. Myself, Earl, G, Ant, Jason, and Bull. It's a little behind-the-glass crossover combo at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We'll have more information on our Twitter. Make sure you guys come out, hang out with us. And if you're watching the show today, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. We appreciate you guys through and through for showing up.
Everybody has to join us.
It's gonna be a
All
lot
the
of fun.
fans that have wanted to meet some of the guys from the show, you have to join us. It's this Thursday night, 7 to 10. We're going to rotate being kind of on air and then schmoozing with fans throughout that time. As you said, there'll be 6 of us there. No Tyvis?
I mean, it's a late night for Tyvis driving back.
Yeah,
so
and I
probably
can
not
as well.
Tyvis and
All right,
Jay.
no
you'll
Tyvis
be-
and
I'm
no
on as
Jay.
well.
But everybody else will be there, and we're going to rotate in and out, and we're going to meet. And so everybody, come on down.
And we're in the sports book, right?
Yeah,
We're not in the
yeah,
arena. We're in the sports book.
Right.
Just use the Sherman-Williams entrance. Just use the Sherman-Williams entrance, and you are good. Come hang out with us.
Which
We'll
means
have
you
a lot
don't need
of
a
fun.
ticket.
You don't
get in.
need tickets to the game. Just come and hang with us. It's going to be a
That's
great
crazy.
time. Thursday night, 7 to
Are
10
you going to
p.m.
have
will be a
some
lot of
swag
fun.
to throw out to the crowd?
I might have a couple things with me. Don't see that. I wish I'd have told me that in advance. So I've been. I might got a couple pieces. We see what we can
All right,
do.
see what
So
you
come
can do.
on, hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. We promise. The unsung hero, Jay, you mentioned him earlier. The offensive line did a phenomenal job keeping Joe Flacco upright. Not as well in the run game. The run game's gone a little MIA, as G. Bush said earlier. But we mentioned Joe Flacco's lack of mobility in comparison to guys who are elite escape artists. But he hasn't had to escape, frankly, that often in 2 games because the offensive line, even with backup tackles on each side, has been really damn good. So how do you explain the progress and the success in pass protection and the lack of success in the running game?
Oh, they don't have good running backs. I mean, that's part of why they're not good in the running game. But
I don't know. Jerome Ford, to me, is a good running back.
Jerome Ford.
I've got Jerome Ford as a good running
Jerome
back.
Ford be twinkle toes. He's about to be on Dancing with the Stars.
I'm not choosing violence today.
Here's what bothers me about Jerome Ford. I mean, we all agree he's the team's best running back, wouldn't we?
Well, he may.
I mean, I don't know.
No, who is? So let me ask it this
I don't
way.
know. I guess-
who is
I
this
guess
team's
he's
best
their
running back?
best.
If given his carries, I think Pierre Strong can be better than Jerome Ford.
Oh, wow.
Well, he might get him because Jerome Ford left with a club on his right hand. It was.
Yeah, I heard
he had
he was-
X-rays after
yep.
the game,
They don't
and
have-
his hand was heavily wrapped.
We've
with
seen
a
running
left.
backs, though, play before with the broken hand.
Yeah,
It's
we'll get an
possible.
update
I
this
don't know.
week. but-
I just don't think their running game is very good.
I
I've not
look
thought
at-
it was very good the whole year.
no, I haven't thought so either.
Here's the numbers on Ford because I wasn't sure, and I'm like, are they not using him enough? What's going on? 166 carries for just under 700 yards. He's averaging 4.2. Here's where I get a little lost in the soup on the usage of Ford. The reason I ask is he your number one running back. I wanted to make sure it was that we're clearly saying that he is. I mean, to me, he's clearly their best running back. I think that situationally, you can argue who's more important. I think what Hunt's bringing and how efficient he is for what he needs to do, and those are some of the toughest yards to get. I think he's filling a role very well. He's a short yardage back. He's a goal line back. He finds the end zone, scores touchdowns. But for me, with Ford, how many carries should a number one running back get? Is there a number
He's
that
not
you
a
guys have?
traditional number one running back.
No, but he's this team's number one running.
Yeah,
so,
but Jay, there's only about 10 true number one running backs.
No,
He's
Bull,
not
Bull,
one
I'm
of
not
those guys.
talking about number ones in the league. I'm talking
Yeah.
about a team's best running back.
I know, but there's a lot of teams now that don't have a legitimate number one like the Browns.
Well,
that
every team
split
has a number
carries.
one running back. Every team does, whether you want to admit whether or not they're a one. Every team has a number one running back.
I honestly, I think he's good for 12 carries, 12 to 15 carries. I don't want him to
He's
get any more
currently
than
over the. This is what's troubling to me over the last 3. He's touched it 30 times.
Why would that be troubling? They've won 2 of their last 3 games.
They have.
Yes. Oh no, they lost.
They're
2 of
1
them.
and 2.
That's
now.
why
Oh,
it's
yeah, that's
troubling.
true. Yeah.
Okay,
well,
so
but they won their last game.
You're right, but what
I don't look at Jerome Ford as a home run hitter, as a
he's
playmaker who has to have the ball in his hands.
But these numbers are more than serviceable. He's 30 carries over 3 games for 135 yards, and he's averaging 4.5 yards per carry over the last 3 games. I just want to see him get more involved. That's it.
I look at it when you go to the All-22, he does give you some splash plays. I don't necessarily think he's a home run hitter, but sometimes you get intoxicated with that. If he can give you a 60-yard play, you say, okay, well, let's fill out and see if he can get some more touches and we can maybe get a home run because the offense is built on we're not going to get 40 points a game. However, he also gives you 4 to 5 plays where they're negative plays.
More at least.
And those negative plays,
Barry Sanders gave you a lot too.
but Jerome Ford is not Barry Sanders.
No, but here's the thing.
He is not.
You give me
Don't
negative
ever
plays.
put those 2 names in the same sentence
If you
again.
give me negative plays, and I agree there are, but you're still averaging 4.5.
Jay, he's one
I'm
of the,
okay with 4.5.
He's one of the least efficient running backs in the league.
He has.
No, he's not.
He has.
16th.
He got issues. I watched. I'm like, listen. There's times where there's 2 or 3 yards that are there. Running backs coaches will tell you if the 2 or 3 are there, put your foot in the ground, get forward. He does a lot of lateral east and west stuff, and he's taking losses too much. You can't do that, especially with this type of offense.
Yeah.
I think he's not very, and I don't even I can't believe I'm saying this word. You guys can have it. he's not very efficient. I got to put the quotes on it because
Yeah.
I'm going to be used
4.5
against
yards per carry is not
That
efficient.
doesn't show his efficiency.
Does it?
When you have one, well, you've been arguing for a month that yards per carry doesn't matter. All that matters is total yards. But now when it benefits you,
and
you're going to use it.
No. I still say that.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you that what I've been arguing. I'm still arguing that.
Yeah.
I thought that, and
you're the only person who thinks he's good.
No, I'm not.
Does anybody else here think Jerome Ford's
I remember
good?
earlier this year
Okay,
when we had a running game discussion.
Yeah.
What Leroy Horde said, I think it was after a particular bad game on yards per carry, and he said, no, that's not how you look at the running game.
Yeah.
The way you look at the running game, and I still say this, and there were again yesterday situations where you just run the ball. Why they were throwing to stop the clock and give Jacksonville an easy timeout with 3 minutes to go, I don't understand that. Particularly when you end up 3 and out anyhow.
Are we really going to talk about play calling off a win?
I'm not thinking play calling.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, I think with the run game, if you give your best running back 10 carries a game, I don't think that's enough. The last 3 games, the Browns are 5th in the league in pass-to-run distribution.
Yeah.
They are 2 and 3 in those games.
Yeah.
So it's not off by a lot. It's off by enough where I just think they've given up on the run as a whole.
Yeah.
And don't become one-dimensional. Don't do it.
Yeah, I'm fine with the way they've been splitting it up. I think right now they're a passing team because they're better at passing the ball. Joe Flacco's throwing well. Their offensive line the entire season has been better at pass blocking than run blocking. It's that simple. They've been better at it. They're doing it. This question started with the offensive line. Their tackles can't run block. They have 2 tackles that can't run block.
Terrible.
And they have a mediocre running back, in my opinion. So that combination leads to them throwing the ball more. Right
You
now,
still want to see Strong more?
I would like to see him more. I've been saying that all year.
I didn't like how they gave him 1 carry yesterday, and I didn't like the call.
They don't really give him anything.
What can he do? I'd like to see him more.
If they had Nick Chubb, they'd be running it a little more.
I think
it better be.
I think when you got Kareem Hunt and he's on the goal line, they've designated him as their short yardage back.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's his niche. And I'm not going to give, at this point, Kareem Hunt 35 carries.
No,
that's not it. So he has a position. So now they're looking at Jerome Ford like, okay, can we use you as an every down back? Now, he's shown some glimpses, and he's been okay in the role. We'll see this week if Pierre's strong. We'll get an opportunity to see what that looks like.
God, I would think so.
If
I'd like to see him get 10 carries for 1 game. Let's just see what it is.
Maybe they split up those carries. I will give it to Bull and Jason. The run game has not been. It has left a lot to be desired, especially when you're talking about the outside zone stuff. Their best runs are the inside with the guards.
Behind Wyatt Teller is their best run. Honestly.
Yeah, the outside stuff ain't been working.
And then Posick went down. Yeah. I mean,
especially against Jacksonville.
They're a pass blocking offensive line.
Yeah,
they're outside of Teller. They're all better at pass blocking. And Teller's a good pass blocker, but he's a better run blocker. Mm-hmm. The rest of them are all better pass blockers. Flacco's playing well. You got to play to your strength right now. Jerome Ford's not a dynamic player. He's okay. He's fine.
He's okay.
He's a nice player, but he's not a great back. He's not a guy you have to get carries to. I don't see that at all. So I have no problem with the run being down a little bit the last few weeks. I did have a problem with it against Denver. That was the only game I didn't like that they didn't use the running game enough.
You know, when we talk short yardage, you guys scream and holler about why are they throwing it. I think that they've gotten this thing to the point now where defenses have no idea what they're going to do in short yardage, which was the whole point of this. And we saw it on the big touchdown throw. You can line up Harrison.
I love that alignment.
But you can line up Harrison Bryant under center.
Yep.
You can line up the quarterback and hand to Kareem. You could go
straight wildcat.
You could go jumbo with 9 linemen and still throw the ball to one of the tight ends. Like, they are so versatile right now in short yardage. I think they're incredibly dangerous because defenses have no idea what they're going to call on 3rd and 1. I think it's a great spot to be in.
They even used DTR for a quarttic sneak, which I actually thought was good.
I like that play.
You know, Joe Flacco's, that's not a strength, quarterback sneak.
But I also think you're telegraphing what you're going to do in that situation when he comes in the game.
He can throw it.
Just like when Harrison Barnes comes in. I want to see him throw it out of that set. Same with Harrison Barnes.
Harrison Barnes pulled that
They've
Bryant.
got something.
Harrison Bryant.
Harrison Bryant.
Harrison
They've got
Barnes.
something in the playbook for Bryant to throw the football.
Well, I think that you're going to see a DTR package that grows throughout the
Yeah,
rest of the season.
because
It's
now
on
he got
tape.
him back.
They
They put it on tape.
It's in there. It's in the bag.
I'd like to-
have, and
Yeah.
if he's in, it could be run, throw. You don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
But I think I'm fairly certain there's more DTR packages to come.
Yeah, and
I'm okay with that.
And I might be able to. I might concede this. Look, if they keep rocking and keep doing this, there might be a chance that the Cleveland Browns go from a running team, and I never thought it would happen.
Well,
with
they
Flacco,
are now with Flacco at quarterback.
to a passing team.
I mean, they finally have a passing quarterback. It makes much more sense to do that with Flacco than it did with the other guys. Why were you having DTR throw it 48 times a game?
In a way, Kevin. Here's how you know, and I'm gonna just give y'all the crystal ball. Here's how you know when Kevin Stefanski feels good about something. The only time he's ever shown emotion on that sideline was against Tennessee when Deshaun Watson threw that deep ball and he chest bumped him on the sideline and he was fired up. When Joe Flacco was throwing that ball off the sideline, your boy Stefanski was animated all day. I seen him do the little golf kick. Ooh, when Hopkins finally got it up in there. I'm like, look at Stefanski. When you have some emotion.
Jay, I want to ask you a question
There it
about
is.
things that
Look at that.
Little high step.
got a high step. He almost looks like Dion right there.
He's flashing
Have
David
you
Bell.
picked up on anything in the building that there's outside influences other than Kevin Stefanski that's pushing the run?
That's pushing the run? No.
I'm sorry, pushing the pass.
Yeah, I think if anything, it'd be the opposite.
Yeah,
I
that's
think
what I meant. That's my bad.
They want,
because I am hearing from inside the building that this crazy throwing the football around is not Kevin Stefanski's plan.
Well, I think two things can be true. I think he'd rather throw it than run it, and I think he's probably getting pressure to do that as well. But I think he's probably in alignment with it. Now, maybe there's instances where he'd rather run it and is being told no, throw it. But his nature is very much to throw the football.
I think his nature, and you touched on this last week, I think the offense that we're currently seeing is the offense Kevin Stefanski wants to run.
Yes.
This is what Kevin Stefanski is.
I texted our subscribers on the opening drive. Like, we've been talking about it. I've been saying it for weeks. Right now, the Browns' offense is heavy sets, screen passes, play action, deep shots on third down.
And it's working.
That's exactly what the opening drive was.
that's
To a
it.
T. That's what that, real
100%.
quick. Zach Jackson just sent me this tweet. I have to read it. It's kind of funny. And this could be a whole other thing that we can worry about on Not a Victory Monday. The Browns paid Deshaun Watson $6.5 million per touchdown pass. So far, they're paying Joe Flacco $37,000 per touchdown.
We're not going to get on that tangent right now. I'm going to get a FanDuel read in and toss it back to you guys. But as the weather gets colder, the NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel. And right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time to get in on the action than right now. The app is simple to use, and there's a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL, an official partner of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Back to the Stefanski talk. Earl said it, I thought, very eloquently on the postgame show yesterday, but he used the word fluid when describing how the Browns' offense has looked the last 2 weeks under Joe Flacco, and it seems to be a nice marriage, at least so far, between Stefanski and his new QB1. So, guys, would you agree fluid is the right word to describe how the Browns' offense had looked prior to Flacco to how it looks now, or would you use a different word?
Fluid, I like the word cohesive.
Functioning.
Functional.
Same page. I know that's two words, but it goes back to what he just said. I think that this is the epitome of what he wants to run, right? It's just like being in a relationship, man. You find somebody that likes you and they deal with your baggage. You're like, oh yeah, listen, this girl, they get me. I'm not dumping this person. This person understands that I'm kind of weird. So with Flacco, Stefanski is like, oh, y'all done let me get one of these You let me get one of these bootleg quarterbacks.
The kind of quarterbacks I want to use.
Yeah, you gonna let me get one of these play action quarterbacks, and he know the playbook, and he know where to throw and not to throw. Oh yeah, I'm good. This is what I'm looking for right here. I think he's like that, man. And I don't mean to derail the show, and because here's my thing, but this is the way Kool-Aid works. And I'm just let you know, as the Kool-Aid, we are serving large goblets and cups of Kool-Aid of Flaccavelli in the streets right now. And every win that comes down this pipeline, you know it as well as I know it. Don't try to act like you guys are innocent. You know what that whisper is. Hey, what happens if he wins more? What happens if they win a playoff game? What happens if they go to the divisional round?
I told you, lock them up right now for next year.
What happens if they get to the AFC Championship game? You know what these? I looked at a little thing on the internet on Cleveland.com. People, when they already start talking about the amount of money that you got for one touchdown pass to the other, the seed is already planted.
It would help if he was 28, not 30.
Another story for another day. But in terms of Stefanski, we talked about this a few weeks ago. I'll say it again. I know you said it a few weeks ago. Stefanski should, without a doubt, be given an extension this offseason. He has done a magnificent job. The fact that this team is 8-5, beating every good team they've played, with the best strength of victory of any contending team in the NFL, in a season where all hell is broken loose, and it's hard to predict and hard to, the amount of injuries they have dealt with, and there's a lot of injuries around the league. And usually when fans complain and say their team has the most, I'm always like, nah, your team doesn't have the most. In this case, it's actually true.
Yes.
The Browns' injuries, and especially the key players, has been off the charts ridiculous. Almost every top player has missed time, and many have missed the whole season. It's absurd. If you told me the guys that were going to be injured and the quarterbacks that were going to play, and you said the Browns are going to be 8-5, I would have laughed in your face. There's no chance the Browns are 8-5 under all these circumstances. And here they are. They could win 4 more games. I wouldn't be surprised if they won out. I think they'll win at least 2 and probably 3, and there's a decent chance they're going to win 4. They're going to win 10, 11, maybe 12 games. It's ridiculous. This guy is a tremendous coach. He's been slighted and slammed unfairly time and time again. It's
and
ridiculous.
There's still people that are upset. I don't get it.
I don't get it. Absurd. He's the best.
People calling for his job.
Oh, God.
He's the best coach the Browns have had since Belichick.
Yes.
Not that that's saying much, but it's not even close. Not even close.
I think he's going to get Coach of the Year votes. I said that a couple of weeks ago. I still say that. He's done. I think it's what's crazy about him, and what I like the most about him, is he's done his best work under the most adversity.
He thrives under it.
He thrives under adversity. And to me, I know there's a lot of different ways we can judge coaches, but the one thing I most wanted in my coach, can you be at your best when the building is on fire? And in 2020, the building was damn near literally on fire. Playoffs. He's the first head coach to get wins with 4 different quarterbacks in one season for the Browns since 1988, when Don Strock had to ride in on the white horse.
Well, in fairness, I don't. How many times has that been a possibility?
It's the first time in the NFL since 2015, for the record.
Right.
So.
I'm going in Browns history.
Yeah.
You have to go all the way back to 1988. To think about, first of all, you got to have a lot of injuries to your quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Well, check. We've done that.
Yeah.
The fact that he's gotten a win against the San Francisco 49ers, the team that could likely be the number 1 overall seed in the West, with P.J. Walker.
Yep.
You can't underestimate what he has done and what he has meant for this football team. And when you see players tweeting out, love this guy, the fact that he's been able to keep this team together with all the adversity, that tells you something. I don't think there was ever any question that he had the locker room. But the fact that he has the locker room to the point where these guys are tweeting out, love this guy, and you look at what he's overcome.
The reason I think people give him criticism is this. It's difficult when you are, like, if you're one of those coaches and you're going to be the GM and the coach, or you're going to be the offensive coordinator and the head coach. Because if, say, for instance, if Alex Van Pelt was just the offensive coordinator, Stefanski wasn't it, nobody would say fire Stefanski, right? He would be up for the coach of the year. They would say it's Van Pelt's fault, or I second guess him. Yeah. But when you are the offensive coordinator, sometimes you're going to get more of the overflow because people nitpick coordinators from
Well,
play to
people in
play, down
Pittsburgh
to
weren't
down.
necessarily calling for Mike Tomlin,
Right.
even though there's always that group.
It was-
they wanted
they wanted-
the offensive
Well, there
coordinator
would still
standing
be
his head.
people, but yeah, I get what you're saying.
You
But-
put yourself in the line of fire
but-
when you wear two hats.
But what he's been able to overcome this year has just been remarkable, and he could win Coach of the Year.
I doubt he will. I think he'll get votes. I don't think he's going to win.
I don't think he'll win it either, but he's
Mike
getting
McDaniel
votes.
will probably
who
win.
do you think will win?
Mike
Mike
McDaniel has
McDaniel's
zero
had-
quality wins.
But still, right now he's in line. He's in line to. He could be the number one overall seed. He can't.
It could be
there are NFL
Sirianni.
teams that he's beat him, and I agree with you. But
They're
the
straight to
love
victory.
affair going on right now between the media and McDaniel.
I love Mike McDaniel.
Yeah,
How
I
could
do
you
too.
not like them?
But the love affair that's going on right now between the media and McDaniel
Because
is
Kevin just won it a
outrageous.
couple of years ago,
True.
I don't think he's going to win it.
And what's his name in Houston?
D'Amico
Well,
Ryan's done
Although
an
they
incredible
could-
job.
If CJ
Well, he's gotta
Stroud's out a
finish.
while, they could fall
Yeah,
apart.
he's got to finish.
By the way,
odds,
isn't it
real
fun?
quick, Bo, the odds haven't been updated because the last of the games aren't over, but the odds for Coach of the Year as of entering Sunday. So once again, these haven't changed, so they're a little irrelevant, but just to give you a standpoint
Right.
and a picture of where it was. Now, he'll definitely rise in the rankings, but Dan Campbell and D'Amico Ryans were the co-favorites
Dan
at plus
Campbell.
200.
Yeah, Campbell
That's
took a
another
dink
good
too
name.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Mike McDaniel was plus 350, and then you have to go all the way down. Entering the game yesterday, Kevin Stefanski was 13-1.
Yeah, he's not going to win it, but he's going to
13-1.
get votes.
I mean, if they get on a hot streak here the
If
rest
the Browns
of the way,
finish
you
with
know,
12 wins-
yeah,
You know
it'd be hard
drove
not
me
to.
nuts yesterday, and we may circle it and go back to it. The Rams had a chance to win that game yesterday. The Rams
yeah.
could have easily won that game.
Yeah.
And now the discussion for all of this, because I do think you have to win your division. And not that it's a prerequisite. Hell, the guy that won the Heisman didn't take a meaningful snap
I mean,
all
Kevin,
year
the Browns
long.
didn't win the division in 2020 when he won.
No, I know, but because it was such a dramatic turnaround,
Right, and it's
they
the
beat the
Browns.
Steelers, and it was the Browns,
Right.
he was the sexy choice. You know the media loves that.
Yeah.
No, but the Steelers didn't matter. It's only regular season.
No, they beat him at the end of the regular season to go to the playoffs.
Yeah, but they
I mean,
were
I
sitting
think
all their
that
starting
helped.
players,
It didn't hurt.
yeah.
Let's put it that way. And I do think that it's the sexy choice and all of that. I don't think you have to be a division winner. You don't, but it does help.
It
But
doesn't really
I'm
matter.
going back to the Ravens win yesterday. Look how much differently we're looking at everything. If you're a game behind the Ravens and not two.
I was actually looking. I was trying to figure out tiebreaker scenarios.
Ravens have it right now.
They would still have it because of
Right now, it's common opponents.
right and the Ravens. Now they've beaten the Rams. They lost to the Colts. I think that the Browns. won.
They're right now. It's still up in the air. So the first tiebreaker is head-to-head. They're tied. The second tiebreaker is division. They're tied. The third tiebreaker is common opponents. Right now, the Ravens are one game better than the Browns.
There's still a couple. Both teams still have a couple to go.
Yeah.
But more than likely, the Browns would lose the tiebreaker. So they're really 3 games behind the Ravens. So the division's probably
Well,
over
it
at this
depends.
point.
I feel like now it is, but I do feel like
But the
as you're
Ravens
watching
have a
the end
tough
of that
schedule.
game, they do. I think their schedule is more difficult than
They
the
play
Browns.
Jacksonville next week.
To me, I was just, if they could have found a way, if the Rams could have found a way to hold on and win that game,
Yeah.
you're looking at things entirely differently because not only is the division title in play, so too with the number 1 overall seed. The Chiefs are going to have to go on the playoffs for the first time, start the playoffs for the first time in Patrick Mahomes' time there.
Imagine that. You got the same doggone record to the Chiefs.
It's the Chiefs.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
With P.J. Walker at quarterback.
That's crazy.
Every team,
Part of the
there's
year.
11 teams within like a game of each other. It's
Yeah,
so
and that's
bizarre.
you know what I think that was Pete Rozell's ideal NFL was parity. He was all about parity, and he said
Well,
it
you
was
got
good
it
for
in
the
the
league.
AFC right now.
And I love it. I
If the
absolutely
Browns
love
win
it.
out, I actually think they have a decent chance to still win the division. If they win out, they'll probably have the tiebreaker.
Because now they would have and
they would have 3
their common
more
opponent wins
common
would help.
opponents wins, 3 more.
It just depends on what the Ravens do.
Right, but if the Ravens go 2-2 and lose to a couple of common opponents,
Then the Browns could be the number 1.
and the Browns
It's
win
a
out.
really narrow path right now. It's
it's
mathematically
there.
possible.
I'm going to say if the Browns go 4-0, they win the division. They have to go 4-0.
I'm going to say this. It don't even really matter if they win the division to me because I'm looking at all these teams, and I think the Browns, as
Although-
top 2, can beat any team in the
The
AFC.
only reason it may matter is because they've been way better at home on defense.
No, I will say that. That's a
Boy,
good
have
point.
they-
way better.
way
at home.
better.
They're Dr. Jack.
It's almost two different units.
Yeah, it's
By
two
the way,
di-
when you
you're
were
right.
gone and Earl was in your chair, you must have spilled some packets of Kool-Aid in there, and it was infused up something in his body. Because when he sat there, is Earl here today?
Yeah, he back there.
Earl is here, yeah.
Earl defiantly predicted that the Browns were going to go 5-0 the rest of the way.
So he got. So
He don't
he
need
may be
Kool-Aid
right.
for that. That's Earl.
Earl's big a homer too.
I mean, this is about the time when the 6-0 Kool-Aid,
Yeah.
the 5-0 Kool-Aids come around. It's the holiday season.
He called it.
By the way, you know what's been funny? There's been so many quarterback injuries. It's been absurd, right?
Oh,
Here's 3 quarterbacks that have not missed a game this year. Now, one of these guys has been banged up, but these 3 guys, Tua.
Lawrence.
Well, no. Well, I wasn't just, but 3 guys you think of as injury prone.
Yeah.
Tua, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts. 3 running quarterbacks. None of them have missed a game.
You just jinxed all 3.
First of all, jinxes don't exist.
I know you say that.
Second
but
of all,
let's just see if one of the 3 gets
You
hurt.
don't think I want to jinx Lamar Jackson?
Yeah, I do.
I mean,
I don't want to wish injury on anybody, but no. And Trevor Lawrence hasn't missed a game going back to high school.
Ain't no problem.
How about that?
Jay, you when you're part of the ACL crew, you could wish minor injuries on lesser people.
I know.
That's
You told me that once.
Hamstring pulls, that's out there game. You're not going to die. You'll be back next year.
Yeah.
You just can't perform.
Yo, you want them out for the rest of the
See,
year.
now G can say that, and if somebody gets hurt, nobody's going to. When I said I wanted the Steelers to get the crap beat out of them, and then Nick Chubb got hurt, you'd think I was the
I
Antichrist.
keep my MRIs on me. You don't tell me about no injuries. You shut your mouth.
Hey, you know what? They're good for one. They're good for all.
Right.
My goodness, this team has had to deal with more injuries than I can remember in a single season.
Yep.
Key injuries, like you said. Quarterback. You're on your 4th quarterback.
I forgot what Nick Chubb looked like. I don't know. I just haven't seen him. It's just like, can you believe that your best players are out and you're 8-5, the same record as the Chiefs?
God, if we ever needed
It's a
Nick Chubb
testament
type
to
running
Kevin
back.
Stefanski at the end of the day. We got 2 more things we want to touch on today before we get to some super chats. Our final FanDuel read as the weather gets colder. The NFL offers stay red hot on FanDuel, and right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 moneyline bet. That's $150 if your team wins. So if you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there's no better time than right now to get in on the action. The app is easy to use, and they have a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, same-game parlays, and much, much more. So visit FanDuel.com/UCSS to kick off the NFL season. FanDuel, an official partner of the NFL. Guys, an underrated part of the win yesterday was the Browns' special teams. And we saw Corey Bjorquez flip the field from inside his own 10 into the Jaguars' own end zone, essentially. They got down at the 17-yard line. James Prochet recovered the onside kick, which sealed the deal, and Dustin Hopkins' 55-yarder set a new franchise single-season record for field goals made in a season. I don't know how you guys feel, but whenever the Browns special teams unit's on the field, I feel really damn good about it. And I'm curious, Jason, I meant to ask you before and I forgot. When they drew the Jaguars offsides on the punt that they ended up going for, was that something they designed and schemed up, or was that just a random happenstance of good luck?
Yeah, that's a good question. I wish I'd have thought of it because I forgot about that play
I
in
felt
the
it
locker room,
was
so I
schemed because
didn't
the way
ask.
the offensive linemen celebrated,
Yeah.
I felt like they specifically were calling for a hard count there or something to try to draw.
Yeah.
But there's no defense. When you're Jacksonville, I'm sorry.
On a punt?
That's
just
the dunce,
crazy.
That's the dunce cap for the
Who
season.
blocks punts? No one blocks punts,
Well,
bro.
Myles Garrett jumping over the line, but that's it.
That's a field goal.
Well, that was a
Oh, yeah,
field goal.
field goal.
Then you
yeah.
would, like, why would you even listen? They don't even have fat dudes like myself on punt because we do dumb stuff like tip over.
Yeah.
We'll just tip over and graze. No, you don't block punts.
Well, it's a good thing he did it.
Well, the dunce cap goes to anybody who jumps in a 4th and short.
Yeah.
Like, the last thing you say when you break the huddle is, don't jump.
Right.
And it was
Well, it was 4th and 6, and it
Still.
made it 4th
Get
and
back to
Yeah, but
and
that,
one, and then they hit David Bell, of
it was
course,
just
for the
it was
touchdown.
genius to do it. And I got to tell you, like, I know that you were comfortable in the late game situation that once it was 10, it was going to be fine. But at that point in the game, that was the first time in the game where I was like, okay, this is going to be a W. And even though it ended up getting much closer than that.
Yeah, he kicked the
But
field goal. I was like, he's
to
done.
answer your question, I'm still a little shaky on punt return.
I don't like their return game at all.
Yeah, I mean, they don't get good yardage on
No.
return. And yesterday,
Their kicker and punter are great.
yeah, I just think there's times that we're letting the ball go when we should be catching it, and it's putting us in a tougher spot.
I don't know.
Field position wise.
Prochet had the one bad game. Otherwise,
He's
at this
been
point,
okay. He's
Just
been
catch it. Just catch it. Secure the ball and fall down.
You can get yards if you have a good returner. It's still a question mark, that part of the team.
For
It's not
sure.
a huge deal. The punter did a great job yesterday. He's, for the most part, I know he's not great at spinning it by the goal line.
He's second to worst in touchbacks.
The Hopkins thing is absurd at this point. I mean, this guy was a terrible long kicker before this year. He was terrible.
I don't know what.
Terrible, maybe strong. He's not good.
Has he been drug tested?
I mean, what is happening?
You know what? Here's what I'm hearing your voice in my head. He's lining up for that kick, and all you kept saying when he was making kicks in September and October and even November, you're like, I don't care. I want to see it in December. I want to see it in December. And when he came out, I'm like, Jay's going to take a victory lap. There's no way he's making his 55-yard field goal.
I knew he was hitting that.
Man, I'm glad you did. I did not.
I was going to say, like, I'm ready to anoint him now after that kick.
Think about it.
Okay, we're good.
Last year, they're not kicking that ball.
No, not even
that
close.
late in the season. By the way, a related kicker story. How about this kicker on the Cowboys? He has not missed a field goal the entire season.
He wasn't even a kicker in college.
He wasn't even a kicker in college. He played soccer.
It's an unreal
I think
story.
he was drafted by the MLS or something.
So what happened was he played professional soccer.
Yeah.
He's on the couch, and his wife said they're watching a football game.
Yeah.
And she goes, honey, can you kick a football? He said, I don't know.
Yeah.
He bought some footballs. He went to a field. He started kicking footballs, and he told his wife, yeah, I can. I'm pretty good at it. He's
the best kicker in the game.
So after figuring that, because he's watching guys, like when they're saying, 50 yards, it's outside his range. He went to 60 yards and was blasted 60-yarders. He came home and told his wife, I'm pretty good at this. So he went and got a coach.
Yeah.
He's a Notre Dame guy, I want to say.
Yes, he is.
He went and got a coach that had a Notre Dame tie. I can't remember who it was. I read the story a couple of weeks ago. A former NFL kicker who was from Notre Dame. He went and hired him as a kicking coach. The kicking coach called, I think, a USFL team.
Yeah, he kicked
Right,
the USFL.
And said, hey, this guy's never kicked. He's never kicked, but he's freaking good. You got to take a look at him.
Yeah.
He won the job. Then, on a ruse, he said, well, he was good at the USFL. He got him a tryout with the Cowboys. And again, a long shot. You're not going to take an undrafted free agent that didn't kick in college. What does he know? He's a soccer player. He beat everybody out. The guy's never missed a kick.
He's missed 2 extra points.
Extra points.
Yeah.
He has perfect on his field
He made a
goal.
61-yarder.
Yeah,
right?
60-59.
And it was easy.
It would have been good from 70.
I mean, it's crazy.
What a story.
So he doesn't know what it is to
miss
really
a field
fail.
goal in the NFL.
That's maybe part of it. The mental aspect of it.
Yeah.
At least every kicker knows what it is to miss a kick. But this guy's like, this is light work.
Well, think about it. Like, the Colts kicker had been great all year. He missed a field goal early against the Bengals yesterday. Then he missed an extra point the next time. It's like he lost it.
Well, that's what
after
happens,
he'd been great
though.
for the whole season.
You get the yips. It's like cutting.
And Hopkins has the mentality of like, you know what? If the worst happens and I get cut, I'm okay.
He's house money.
Well, he's got 68 field goals / extra points, and he's missed 6, I think.
On the season, he is 31 of 34 on field goals and 20 of 22 on extra points. So
he's missed 5 kicks.
Incredible.
66 kicks, 61 conversions.
Right, and I don't think he's ever missed 2 in a row in combination.
Now, I don't know that he's going to be all pro because there's kickers that have missed either 1 or 2. But
the Dallas kicker is the all-pro right now.
But that's the NFC.
Well, the NFC.
Only one. There's no
only one
AFC and
all-pro
NFC.
kicker.
Oh, there is only one all-pro?
All-pro is just one team. Yeah.
Well, then he's not getting that. But I do think he's going to get.
That's okay.
He's going to get. I think he's going to.
I'm fine.
He's having a great
Well,
year.
the reason I think that you got to jump him up a little bit is because he's been so good from 50+.
Well, he's doing it in elements, too.
8 of 8 from 50+. To kick in December in Cleveland for 55.
And be
right down the middle.
Of 8.
I'm good.
Like that's Phil Dawson.
Jay, you know what's crazy real quick? The Dallas kicker is also 8 of 8 from 50+.
From 50+.
I believe it.
Who's the Cowboys kicker?
That kick he hit yesterday was held at the Star. And honestly, he looked like he was kicking an extra point.
Right.
He doesn't exert a lot of effort. I love the interview with him after the game. I knew he had been coached well when he used the word process right away. Jay Feely always used to tell me, it's not about the situation or the result. Think of those two, you will fail. It's about the process. And in the postgame interview, the first thing he mentioned to Melissa Stark was process. And I'm like, yeah, he's got good pedigree.
The best thing about it is you go, and kickers sometimes look like they feel like they're outside of the team locker room. They feel like they're not part of the team. You go back and watch the reaction. Kevin Stefanski gives them the game ball after the game, and he comes in, has the ball, and he just comes in, and you could tell everybody's cheering for, everybody's
Yeah.
excited. It's
Yeah.
just like he's a dude that's part of the team.
Well, look how the game played out. He misses that kick. Look where the Jags get it.
Midfield.
And look what they did. Now, maybe the defense
They
would
would've
have
played
played a little
different.
differently,
Yeah,
you'd
they
like to
would've.
think.
You'd
But I
never know.
also would like to think they were trying to stop them on
Yeah.
that touchdown drive.
Right.
I mean, you give the team half a field to work with to tie the game. That kick, onions, man.
You don't try that
Onions.
unless you have a ton of confidence in the kicker. By the way, something I've been meaning to mention for a month, and I finally remembered to bring it up. What has been the biggest health deal that's been brought up in the NFL for the past decade plus?
Turf.
Concussions.
Concussions. What does every team in the NFL do after a kicker makes a field goal?
Slap him
Headbutt
on
him.
the
Yeah,
helmet.
hit him on the head.
They
Headbutt
bang
him.
heads together.
Headbutt him. He's the kicker.
But they're all banging heads.
Soccer players, they've got thick skulls from taking
I
all
know,
those
but it's
headers.
other players banging heads too. It's so stupid.
It's supposed to be a love tap helmet.
I know, but
Some of them
trying to
aren't.
protect our heads here.
These-
What happened?
Some linemen are ridiculous. Once again, that's why we limit their access to the field. You don't be out there like stop headbutting or
Yeah.
kicker. Give him a little.
We don't need him getting a concussion over here. Let's go.
What do you guys think? And then we'll move on to our last thing before we get to super chats. But Steve, please play the punt. Jay, I confirmed it's the longest punt in the NFL this season that did not result in a touchback. 75 yards. He kicked this from standing in his own end zone. Watch where it lands. Literally a 75-yard boot. Bjork is not the greatest at pinning him down inside the 20, but when he can let it rip,
Where
very
did
few
that
in the
land?
league. On the 15-yard line, and it was about an 8-yard return, a 75-yard punt.
Well, wait,
longest
it
in
landed on the
NFL.
15-yard line? Because
Yeah,
I couldn't
we'll
see
let
it.
it. We'll let it play again, Steve. Just
Yeah,
let this
if
bad
it
boy
did,
rock,
that
but
ball traveled 85 air yards.
How impressive, and where does this rank on the impressive punts you guys have ever seen in your mind? Because
Well, I saw a 98-yarder once, but that was
that's
fun.
from the
from
goal,
the goal
line, by
line.
the way.
He kicked it from the
goal
goal line. Where does it hit the ground? Or where does it
He
hit the
catches it.
Yeah,
running
you're right.
backwards at about
if
the
he didn't
19-yard
catch it, it
line.
would have hit the 15-yard line.
Yeah, so that's 75 yards.
That's very
No,
impressive.
no, that's 85
85
yards.
through the
Yeah.
air.
Yeah.
85 air yards.
85
it from
air
the goal
yards,
line.
Air
75
caught it
yards.
at
dead
From
the
yards.
15.
where
yeah,
the
85,
ball left
yeah.
his foot. Guys, that's unbelievable.
That is crazy.
I've seen. Well, my college teammate was Dave Zassadil, so he used to kick the ball in practice crazy. But that, I mean, I don't care who you punt or who you play with. That's still impressive.
You know what was nuts?
It's crazy.
It was a wonderful catch by the return man over the shoulders on his fingertips. If
Yeah.
he doesn't catch that ball, it's possible the Browns get to it before it gets to the end zone and they down it on the 1-yard line.
Yeah.
Because where
Yeah,
he
who
was
knows?
when he
Yeah,
caught
right,
it,
Right.
it was.
Yeah, that was a
it-
crazy punt. He's, for the most part, done a great
Now,
job.
I
He
looked
can
it up
Flip the
because
field no
I
matter where he's kicking it from.
he is John Daly. He's driving for show, but he is definitely not good at the directional kick and the backspin.
Yeah.
He's got 9 touchbacks. There's only one punter that has more than him, and he has 10 touchbacks. But he averaged 51 and a half on 8 punts yesterday.
Crazy.
That's how if you get into a situation where you need to play trestle ball, they've got the kicker, they've got the punter, they've got the defense.
Well, right now
And-
they're
and
moving the ball on offense, so they don't need to play trestle ball.
No, well, they don't, but they're going to need stops. The reason I bring up the trestle ball thing is when you get into the playoffs and those points might become harder to come by, it's just a huge check in your column when you've got a kicker that can hit from 50 plus and you've got a punter that's averaging
Sure.
50 plus. You can change the game. And yesterday I thought the Browns kicker and punter were unsung heroes in the victory.
First time in a long time you could actually
I got
say.
breaking news, G. I got to cut in here real quick. Dwan Jones needs surgery, out for the season. Massive loss on the offensive line. That's from Mary Kay. Kevin Stefanski's just getting to the podium to go over some injury updates, but Dwan Jones, knee injury that he suffered in practice, will be out for the remainder of the season.
Can I ask
according to
this,
Kevin
just because
Stefanski.
it does make a difference? What was the injury? Is it meniscus? Is it...
We'll find out. Mary Kay literally just tweeted, hashtag,
The only reason I
you can take
ask
it
that
full.
is because there are certain injuries that so he's going to go on IR, he's going to miss the remainder of the regular season, but if it wasn't an ACL tear, there's a possibility that he could be playoff available.
I don't think she would have said out for the season if there was
Well,
a chance he was going to play for the playoffs.
I think regular season, there's 4
Yeah,
games
but I don't
left,
think
he's
that's-
going on IR. I don't know.
I don't think
I
she-
hope someone asks Stefanski what if this team makes the playoffs? Is it possible that Dwan
Wouldn't
Jones
you
could
assume
come back?
that out for the season means out for the season? I don't think she's just talking about regular season. But anyway.
She didn't clarify.
It's hard to say because in a tweet in that moment, you're just trying to get the news out.
Yeah.
So there probably is some ambiguity there in terms of, I mean, how many weeks will we have? 5 weeks
There's
left?
4 weeks left.
There's
of the
4
regular
weeks left,
season.
5 weeks before your playoff
I mean,
game.
if
If it's a meniscus tear, absolutely he could play.
I don't know.
I'm assuming
even if
she's-
you scope, that's a month.
Yeah, but
to 6 weeks.
No, we saw Batonio miss 2 games with the scope.
I-
And there have been, it still blows my mind, there have been instances where guys missed a week from a scope.
I don't think she would have rode out for the season if he could have.
I
done
don't
that
either.
massive,
But to me, the season ender would be ACL. Obviously, that season ender.
It's not
either
that.
way,
And I don't think it's ACL.
This is a huge injury. Obviously, I mean, but the Browns have shown you time and time again that the next man up is working. So it's not the end of the world. It's a disappointment. I hope that it'd be interesting when Jed Wills comes back, if he does, and we assume he will they move Garrett Christian, who's not very good either, but better than James Hudson? Will they move him to right tackle?
I
would
would
think.
When you're dealing with big dudes and linemen, it's just tough. Like, the dude is like 4,000 pounds at 6'8". Like, you getting in the stance, you got to drive off the ball. And if you got a bad wheel, it's just like they're like, listen, we might just shut him down. They found a diamond in the rough. I have no problems if they say, Dwan Jones is done for the year. We're gonna get him together, get him back next year. They found a tackle of the future,
That's
and
right.
I ain't gonna jinx it.
No.
TBD on, this is from Zach, TBD on Delpit and Thornhill. No update on Jerome Ford, which is probably a positive. So even though he left with his hand heavily wrapped, looks like maybe Ford to be ready to go.
Yeah.
But Delpit and Thornhill, I forgot about Delpit, left with the groin.
Yeah.
Yep. That's
Well,
right.
that actually brings us right to our next thing. Delpit signed a contract extension before the game, or was announced on Saturday, then the numbers came out Sunday. 3 years, $36 million for the Browns safety, who's kind of come into his own this season more than he had earlier in his career. What did you guys think of the contract? Was it the right numbers, and what do you think about him being a foundational piece of the secondary moving forward, G?
I like it. Safeties really don't usually get that big of a bag when they talk about extensions, and safeties really don't even get picked in the first round. So it's almost like, you know, they're not going to be able to get that 5th year that you would usually give on a rookie deal, because they usually get drafted in the late first, early second round. For Delpit, I thought it was a very smart decision. I thought his agent looked around, looked at the different contracts that is out there. He said, listen, we might as well go get this done right now, get you some security. And he did it at a young enough age where he may get another bite at the apple, because he only signed for a 3-year deal. He could come back up and possibly, if it don't work for the Browns, he can get another contract other places. I thought he was having the best year of his career, and I think that's just some of the deals that the Browns are trying to do to wrap up. Hopefully, they do the same with Joe Flacco before he starts to get hot and we get to the $8 million threshold where some desperate team wants it.
I mean,
I'm signing him to a 2-year deal, boo.
I'm not signing him before. They're not signing him before the end of the season. Come on, he's played 2 games. He's 39 years old.
He looked like he's 12.
Well, here's what we learned this year. The premium on backup
but
quarterbacks, the price for those are going to go up. I don't know that I'd sign him for 2 years. Maybe I'd sign him 2 years,
Team option.
1 guaranteed team option.
Team option.
I love this deal, and the reason I love it is because, so you're giving up $23 million in locked money. I do agree with you. Safeties usually don't get that, but I think they found a guy that fits their need and fits their system and plays well within it. And that's kind of the going rate if you want to lock them up and keep them there long term. I'm all about stability on the defensive side of the ball. I want these guys locked in so we can see them play together for 3-4 years and take a run at it that way. It's just every spin of the wheel you get, you have a chance of landing on $1. I like it. And again, because it's only 2 of those 3 years are guaranteed,
Right.
I think it was a no-brainer.
By the way, Dwan Jones out for the year, including playoffs.
So
Do
we know what the...
I don't know what the injury is, but that's what the Browns are saying. He's out for the year.
Yeah, it's either
period.
probably torn MCL or PCL.
And I'm fine with the contract. They overpaid him, obviously, a little bit, but
You think
I'm
they
fine with
overpaid
it.
him?
I mean, I think he's an average safety.
I think he's above average.
I think he is too.
He had a great. He picked good time to have his best year. He stayed healthy and he's had a great year.
Yeah.
And he's earned it. I think the JJ3 contract was around this number. I was just trying to look it up real quick, but I think he was around 13 million when they signed him. Thornhill,
That was
I think
a disaster.
but that was the top rate
That's
safety.
what they got.
And I think Thornhill was 7, so they got less on that deal. But I mean, this is the going rate for top safeties. Is he one of the
He's
elite?
not a top safety.
He's not elite. It's sort of like
Yeah.
I'm thinking like this through in real time. It sort of feels like the Njoku deal. Of you're being paid like elite, even though you're not elite, but you're above average. But it keeps you in.
I love it for the continuity. Again, like
I don't disagree with
It's
that.
fine.
I want these
It's
moving
fine. I got no
parts
problem
to
with it.
slow down.
It's going to come a point where they're going to have some hard decisions to make, and who do you keep? And there's going to come a point where you got to
Isn't
move
that
on
next
from
year?
guys.
Isn't that the point?
Well, they can redo the Deshaun deal next year, and they can kick more of the money down the road. But it's setting up for a calamity in the
some point.
future.
This Conklin deal is a disaster.
The Conklin deal's a
that's
mess.
killer.
And I don't know, you're just going to have to eat that, I think. Like,
That's crazy.
because now you got Dwan Jones there,
Yeah.
and he's probably your starting right tackle next year. So I don't.
Unless they move on from Jed.
They already signed his 5th-year deal.
I don't know. They've got some,
Yeah.
but it's going to come a point where they're going to run out of magic beans.
They're spending
in
too
terms
much
of-
money on the offensive line. They're going to have to
Well,
eventually.
but they redid both of those guys, and once you
Yeah,
redo a
that's true.
deal, it's harder to move on from. They redid Teller and Batonio.
Yep.
So
Right,
it
that's
makes
true.
it harder to move on from those guys after
Coaches
you
got
redo it.
paid.
No, there's going to be a reckoning with the cap, and I don't even. I try to push it out of my mind as
Yeah,
much as I can.
we don't have to
this
worry about it
notion
now.
that you can manipulate it forever is
It's
a
not
fallacy.
true. No,
That is
it's
not
not true.
true. There will be a reckoning day.
We talked
Let's
about it
just hope
before.
that between then and now they
It's,
can.
it's what you do between now and then.
it.
Matt Ryan cost $45 million on the Colts cap or on the Falcons cap when he was playing for the Colts. Brady's costing $40 million on the Bucks cap this year, and he's retired. So there comes a point where it ends badly. It always does. It's what you do between now and then, and that we can have that discussion another day.
Well,
But-
Let's.
hey, congratulations, you guys. I ain't getting no Social Security. Keep it rolling. My Social Security is out of here. So we're going to keep running this debt up. We're going to run that deficit. We're going to keep swiping that credit card.
it only comes back to, it only comes back to bite you if you don't draft well. We've seen with the Rams. It's going to bite the Rams. Has it bit the Rams?
Well, the Rams have 2 all-time draft beaters, so they're good. Now, if the Browns can find those, you're right. They can
If you
minimize
draft
the
well.
blow down the road if you can find a Puka Nacua in the 5th round. Good luck with that. I mean, we can't find
It's not
receivers
just-
in the 3rd round.
The Rams
Or
are
you
not
could
just.
develop.
The Rams are a decent team. It's not just because of those 2 guys. There's other players.
No,
If you-
Williams was another draft home run.
If you draft well, then it doesn't really come.
You can
back to
hide
bite
it.
you.
You can hide it.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a day of reckoning.
Well,
oh, yeah.
And let's just, to your point, they knew when they made this deal, it was an all or nothing deal. This isn't a let's make the playoffs deal. This is let's win a Super Bowl deal.
Yeah.
Let win a Super Bowl.
The Falcons only have a day of reckoning because they didn't get a good quarterback to follow Matt Ryan.
Well, it's hard to get a good quarterback when you're not
you're 45
drafting
million
in the
on
top
one.
10. So eventually, that's what I'm saying. Eventually, I mean, you can get lucky and find a Brock Purdy, I guess, but that's just getting
The Falcons have drafted high in recent years.
top 10.
Yeah, they drafted Kyle Pitts instead of a quarterback that year.
And that was
that's
a
their
swing and a
fault.
miss.
Well, I don't think it's a swing and a miss.
drafted-
They just don't have a
They also
quarterback.
They
took
to get
drafted
it.
Desmond
Drake
Ridder in the
London
second.
high.
Hasn't panned out the way they'd hoped it would when they took him in the 1st round.
Their top 10 picks the last couple of years have been Kyle Pitts, Bijan Robinson, and Drake
Robinson's
London.
been
They've
good.
actually drafted in the top 10 3 times and didn't take a
I mean,
quarterback.
it's
Drafting a running back with a top 10 pick is stupid. They're a stupid organization. That's why they're in bad shape. Not because
so you think that there will never be a day of reckoning for this contract?
there might, but it's only if you draft poorly going forward. When you have a contract like that, it won't hurt you if you end up with a lot of cheap players. You have to draft really well to make up for that. I mean, who's been crushed by the cap and it killed their team? Who?
Well, Atlanta right now could be in a better spot.
I
They're
mean,
in
they got-
first place, but
they're
they're
not gonna
6
play
and 7.
us.
The Bucks
They're
are
not in
also
first-
6 and
They're
7.
not in first. Technically, the Bucks are in first place. It's a bad division.
6 and 7.
I think we are evolving into
And the cap's going way up next year also.
these massive quarterback contracts
Yeah.
are still relatively new to where, how am I trying to say this?
We're not sure the impact a bad deal will have moving forward.
Kind of, yes. But there's always teams, there's always guys. I mean, the Chiefs lost Tyreek Hill. I don't know if that was necessarily a cap thing specifically, but there's always instances of teams having to move
No,
on
Hill
from
was
players.
a cap hit.
there's always instances of teams moving on from players that they'd like to keep, but they
Sure.
can't. That
They could have
always
signed
happens.
Tyreek Hill. They chose not to. They didn't think, and they won a Super Bowl without him.
They did win a
Obviously,
Super Bowl without
it
him.
looks like it's affecting them. I mean, I don't know.
I know, we had that argument
They
earlier.
need
It's hard to
they
say.
need wide receivers right now.
But
Their wide receiving core, even the fact that they're where they are with their receiving core is
Again, they
remarkable.
won a Super Bowl with no wide receiving core last year.
and
Well,
I'm sure
Travis Kelce is the best at his position, though.
Well,
too.
he's still the best in his position, no?
He is, but when you watch them, it's obvious.
But why
was
but again, they didn't have it last year.
Well, the league is caught up for whatever reason.
It's a
They're
new
not.
year.
We'll
it's a new
see.
day.
Trust me, I have Patrick Mahomes in both my fantasy leagues, and he's pedestrian this year.
in terms of like the two names that are in top of mind are Matt Ryan and Tom Brady, because I just wrote the story a couple weeks ago.
Right.
But when you have a $40 million hole in your salary cap, it's going to affect your team.
What is his hit next year? It's more,
Deshaun?
Yeah.
Right now it's $64 million.
Right now, the biggest reason it's going to affect the team is because he has not been any good.
Yes.
Wait, you mentioned $64 million. What is available for them in terms of restructuring to bring that number way down? How do they do that?
You tack on void years at the end of the deal, you convert money into bonus money, and you tack on void years at the end, and then that's where the void years at the end is where the money sort of piles up.
So
and
that's
what-
where it really dings you, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah,
like the
that's-
40 for Brady that's not there,
And-
the 45 for...
Yeah, and Atlanta did that. Atlanta restructured Ryan one too many times, probably, and put too much money at the end, and that's what came up to get him. Philly is one, if you want to use an example, Philly's one team that keeps restructuring deals, but they keeps restructuring the right deals. That's
right.
And so they managed to navigate this okay.
It's all about the quarterback that you spend money on being good, which
And-
he hasn't, and drafting good players to replace guys with
Well,
cheap
I mean, you
Philly
mentioned
got-
Joe Flacco's had more production. We've got 7 touchdown passes in 6 games from Deshaun and 5 in 2 games for Flacco.
Yeah.
So it's efficiency at the position, too.
And Philly, going back to Philly, it's Jalen Hurts. You find Jalen Hurts in the 3rd round, so that
Right.
helps. That helps
Right.
your cause.
But next year, his extension kicks in.
right? And so then we'll see.
Yeah.
You know, that's what I'm saying.
And
I
their
think
defense is not as good. Well, but
we're evolving with this monster quarterback.
Yeah, we'll
deals
see.
Of I don't know that we
But
necessarily
again,
know yet.
the cap, I was just reading yesterday, is going to
It
skyrocket
is
next year.
and that's why the Browns were comfortable
Right.
doing this deal in part because
Skyrocket. What's
cap
the
was gonna go
percentage
up.
it's going up? 20%?
It's a massive spike. I don't have the numbers.
I can't remember the exact numbers.
And
but
that's why-
usually it goes up 10, 12 million a year. I think it's going to go up at least double that. next
And
year.
that's why people say it's imaginary, right? The cap going up is them saying, okay, we'll just spend more money. It's like you never know when somebody does tax breaks, right? You never know what the unintended consequences of tax breaks or cuts are.
That is very true.
3 to 5 years, you gotta wait 3, 5, 6, 7 years to even see did it work? Did his economy better? We don't know. So it's like, okay, they keep giving these contracts, and they're hell bent on keep giving these quarterbacks 600, 700. They'll figure it out. But you can't.
They better.
Bull you did say that. Which team? I can only think of one team. The San Francisco 49ers, when the cap was back in the 90s, and they just basically screwed the cap up, and they were the team that got left out, and they had to pay all kind of money in figures. But look, what team has not been able to field a team?
Yeah, I mean, like,
It's not about fielding a team. It's about being competitive.
Well,
right. First of all, if you win a Super Bowl, okay, that's part of the doing business. Like the Rams don't regret making all their trades.
And Tampa doesn't regret
And even
bringing in
Tampa
Tom
Bay.
Brady.
And
But
Atlanta went to a Super Bowl and
Atlanta
should've
went
won
to a
it.
Super Bowl.
Atlanta's looking back at 28-3 and saying, well, all of that
Should've won that.
maneuvering and all of that money for Matt Ryan,
Yeah.
it didn't get the ring.
Which is why it's all dependent on what you do between now and then.
Yeah.
It will come a day where you're in a mess with the cap.
If you do other things wrong, it will eventually
Look,
get
there's
you.
always
Yes.
it's always punitive if you draft poorly.
Yeah,
always.
100%.
It's more punitive if you're in a cap position that's unfavorable. If you're not hitting on those 4th and 5th round guys, the Rams would love nothing more than to pay Nakua when his contract is up. But they got 3 years of him on the cheap, and they've got to make sure that they're in a position to do well when they've got 2 of their biggest offensive contributors that were steals in the draft, and they're paying them nothing.
Yeah.
So real quick before we go to Super Chats, just a yes or no. Fan of the Delpit deal? Jay, we'll start with you.
Yeah,
on this ball.
definitely
You're a fan.
fan.
G, a fan?
Yeah.
Jason, you like it?
Yes, not probably as much as they do, but
Yeah.
if it's a yes or no, I would say
I'm
yes.
with Jason. I don't love it, but I'd give it a mild thumbs up.
A
Definitely not
mild
a thumbs
thumbs
down.
up. Love that from you. But all right, we're going to get to some Super Chats before we wrap up the show here. And as always, Super Chats are brought to us by PCC Airfoils. If you're looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits, PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, and Minerva are hiring for all positions starting $18 and up. Plus, full benefit packages, paid time off, and a signing bonus. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. Our first Super Chat of the day comes from Skilly. Shout out to Skilly. He said, let's go. Big victory Monday. Flacco is no stranger to pulling off big wins in Cleveland. My question, though, is how far do you think this team truly can go? So, guys, real quick, we'll answer some of these, but how far can the Browns go with Joe Flacco at the helm?
I think sky's the limit. I really do.
I agree.
The AFC is so wide open.
Yep.
Nothing's going to surprise you. The Browns could lose in the first round.
That's
They could go to the
exactly.
Super Bowl.
I said that the
And
last
that's
year.
what makes for a great NFL.
Yeah.
The last year I was covering the Cavs in 2018. I said
Right.
they could lose in the first round. They could go to the finals. Nothing would surprise me.
Same thing with the Browns.
That's how I feel about the Browns. They could lose in the first round. They could go to the Super Bowl.
If Ward and Myles are healthy, and Flacco plays at this level, the Browns could beat anybody in the AFC.
Yes.
On the other hand, if Ward and Myles are not healthy and Flacco remembers he's 39,
They could lose at
easily
Jacksonville
lose
in
It's
week one.
possible.
First round.
That's a good point, Bull.
Yeah.
But it's possible that we could look back in late January and say our injuries came at the best possible time because we were able to work through them.
Right.
What you don't want is to lose a Myles and a Denzel going into a playoff game.
Sure.
That could be fatal. They haven't suffered the fatal knockout punch yet with all the injuries that they've had. So if there is some sort of football karma with injuries happening all at once, we might look back and say, wow, in December we thought it was tragic, but we made it through that, and our guys are healthy now in the playoffs.
Yeah.
That gives you the best chance to win.
I'm gonna tell you week after week.
You want to hold the Kool-Aid pitcher for this answer?
Man, listen. They gonna listen. Flaccavelli, listen, they was already in the streets after this win. Do not let this man get hot. Do
Sky's
not
the
let them
limit.
go to the playoffs
I feel like
that.
every game the rest of the year, the Browns are going to be anywhere from a 3-point dog to a 3-point favorite, including the playoffs. I don't think they're going to be.
Who will they be an underdog to at Cincinnati if they keep doing this?
It
If
depends.
CJ plays, they could be an underdog
Houston.
in Houston.
Yeah.
If Stroud plays, they'll be an underdog, a slight underdog in that game. They're not going to be a big favorite or a big dog in any game the rest of the year, including the playoffs. Every
Bears
game's
line
going to be a
shocks me.
toss-up, and they're going to have a
right?
chance to win it.
That Bears line is surprising.
I'm
I think
surprised
it'd be
by
more
that,
than-
too.
You get
Because the
three
Bears
for being
played
at
very
home.
well yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
yes.
get 3 for being at home. You'd think that they're better.
Not anymore. You get 1.5 now for being at home.
That shows how
It's
much
totally
I pay attention
changed,
to
yeah,
gambling
1.5.
lines.
And the line, I bet you the line will change.
I thought it was always 3. What did that
Well,
change?
it'll change on the money.
It used to be,
The
but-
action on that game is going to swing.
Yeah, it's going to
teams
go
have
on the
not had a ton
Browns.
of
I bet you the
success.
Browns get up to a 4.5-point favorite,
Yeah.
5-point favorite.
Is that just this year, Mike?
It's been a lot.
since COVID?
Yeah, really since COVID.
They've changed. It's
Yeah.
kind of
Shows how much
changed.
I pay
Well,
attention
because
to
there
gambling.
was no home field in COVID,
Yeah.
so it went from 3 to 0,
Yeah.
and now instead of jumping back to 3, that's where they are.
All right, we got a couple. We actually got a lot, so we're gonna run through these. Sir Grizz says, "Bull, the Guardians re-signed Austin Hedges." That's a fact. No one's happy about that. Anthony, we're gonna talk about that tomorrow. That is a topic for
They
tomorrow.
did?
We're gonna dive into.
Yeah.
You lying.
Austin
He's
Hedges.
been-
coming back.
I'm fine with 5 seconds, Mike.
5
I'm
seconds,
fine
go.
with him being their backup catcher, but I have a problem with the money they spent. Go ahead.
We're gonna do a whole
Later.
topic. We're gonna legitimately
Just
talk
for
about it
Bull.
tomorrow. I promise you, it's in the rundown. That will be on the docket tomorrow. Charles T says, "How much of a team culture and credit goes to Stefanski for this truly next man up mentality? No matter who's under center, whoever we lose to injury, it has not stopped us at all."
All of it.
Yep.
All of it.
Give it all.
Yeah.
Yep.
Ton of credit.
I agree, because culture is set by the head coach.
Yes.
It can be set by players, but in this instance, I'm with you. What he's done and what he's had to fight through, it's unbelievable. And to be at 8-5 and where he is,
I give him props.
It's funny,
I give him
real
props.
quick. I was looking for something. I saw a clip from last year where we were talking about Kevin, and I said, this is what I like about him. It's this.
Yeah.
In a building that is always high and low, ownership that's nuts, he's always like this, and that's proven this year.
Yeah.
It's no matter
Steady
who's in, no matter
influence.
who's out. It's just like this.
I wish there were certain people that we could keep from the building.
Oh, you and me both.
Man.
All right, next up, G, you're going to answer this one. We got a bunch of questions, so we'll get one in person to answer each of these questions. Charles T. also says, we've been seeing Stefanski scheme guys open since the Baker days. Why does it seem to be working better with Flacco than the others? Is it just a vet getting through the right reads?
He knows what he's doing. He's seen every defense. He didn't throw. He can make every throw. If you have a strong arm, you know the defense, and you know what they're trying to do to you, and you get rid of the ball quickly, everything's going to run a little smoother.
I agree.
All right. Shout out to Wolf Rage, KR Thunder, and Earl for gifting 5 memberships each today. Jay, this question's for you. If Joe is from OP Method, if Flacco is the style of quarterback who has made this offense finally pop, why didn't Andrew Berry support this via the draft?
It's a good question. It's a really good question.
All right, next up from Buff Gaming. Awesome to see the crowd so confident in the team. Sat in the suite, taking it all in with the family. The fans are having fun for the first time in a long time. Derek Bryson says Stefanski gets most out of his quarterbacks. Castle, Cousins, Mayfield, Brissett, and now Flacco. It's time to put some respect on his name. MPC said, shout out to the special teams. Bjorquez and 55-yarder from Hopkins was clutch. Donnie M asked about Myles' comments on being held every play. We talked about that earlier, so make sure you go back, Donnie, and check out that segment. Dank Nasty Assmaster said if he told me in July we'd be 8-5 with Flacco at quarterback, I'd say, quote, well, I guess I have to vote to legalize. I guess the vote to legalize weed passed because you're high right now.
And it did.
I don't
Both are
smoke pop, but
accurate.
I'm excited about it.
Rakisan
Why, if you don't
1187
I
said
believe in
if
freedoms.
Tyreek got tackled at the line of scrimmage, there would be a flag every time. Not sure what that's.
Yeah. I don't know either.
Okay.
By the way, I know this is off topic. I want to squeeze this in because it was one of the notes that I wanted to throw in there. We already, I mean, and you can love or hate Joe Burrow. I happen to love the guy. What he did for Jake Browning's family in giving
awesome.
his luxury suite to his family so they can watch the game in nice conditions. It's another one of those things where you just put it on his pile and say, this dude gets it.
Yeah, he's cool.
I love it,
kudos
but I
to
wasn't
Joe
going to bring it
Burrow.
up because otherwise, who cares about
That's
the
what he
Bengals? But
posted.
you bring it
No,
up, it's okay.
look. I mean, he's our rival. He's
Yeah.
our enemy. I respect the hell out of this guy.
You're supposed to do that.
But yeah,
just
no,
say.
give kudos where they're due. And
it.
I just think that this guy just makes every move perfectly.
We got a bunch more. Mighty Mulatto says Patrick Mahomes. Wait, I'm going to let you finish. Hold my beer, Miles. 2 Eraz said the referees suck sometimes. Charles T said the Browns are still first in the league in rushing attempts with 418. Bold Jason,
are.
why are fans still screaming to run the ball more?
They
You're
are.
insane.
They are.
Charles
Well, over
T
the last
says,
3 games, I've said it hasn't been enough. 65% pass is just it's top 5 in the league.
Charles T also said, can we redo how good these running backs are with a poll? Elite question mark. Set apart Laz says, our offensive line seems to hold up well with the statue at quarterback. Do you think we need to revamp the O-line to play with a more athletic quarterback? Bull, you can take this one.
No, you're not going to revamp. How can you revamp it? They're all highly paid, and they're all good. I mean, when healthy, outside of Jed Wills. So no, you can't revamp it.
And this line was built to play with an athletic quarterback.
An athletic quarterback, sometimes when you move more or you extend plays, you're going to get sacked more. We've seen that with Burrow.
Yep.
The Bengals' offensive line did not allow a sack yesterday. Brown,
How long can he continue on this magic carpet ride?
No idea. I didn't expect any of it, so we'll see.
He's completing 80% of his passes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It's the highest completion percentage for a starter ever through 3 starts. Donnie M says Strong did not get carries but played
course it
amazing
is.
on special teams. Had some really nice tackles from
Yep.
the gunner position.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good catch, Donnie. Matthew Culpa says, Bull, where's your green shirt at?
I know. I
We
said
said
that
that.
before the show. You know what's funny? I was debating between this and a green shirt exactly like this, and if I had known you all were going to wear green, I would have grabbed the green one.
Wrist smash.
Darn it.
I got a text
Mark
from G
Anthony
saying wear
Barnes
green tomorrow.
says,
We
bump all that. I think the Browns can still go to the Super Bowl. Happy holidays. Charles T says, breaking Stefanski has turned water into Kool-Aid. Peter R says,
Nice.
Baltimore plays Jacksonville and San Francisco. If they lose, we get the tiebreaker.
Well, we got to win out. Let's not
Yeah,
forget
that also has to happen.
Not forget that
Carrie
little nugget.
Smeal says, I love G. Bush and Jason shirts. Merry Christmas, go Browns.
I like the theme too.
Yeah.
Should we do an ugly Christmas sweater?
Oh,
show?
I'm in. Yeah,
We're
I'm
doing
in.
that upstairs.
We'll do that. We'll talk about that
Yeah, we should
afterwards.
plan
A couple
one.
more real quick. Charles T said Waka Flacco will run out the tunnel with Flacco at the Super Bowl for the Browns this
Charles
year.
T
I'm
spent
that high
his
on Kool-Aid.
paycheck on
No
Charles
kidding.
T.
What's he doing? Giving a buck?
Shout out to Charles T. That's our
got
and
Charles
he's giving us
Bag.
euros. That's our guy from I believe he's from London. Charles T. So
Oh, he
shout out
got
to
that
Charles T.
bag.
Chuck T.
He got the
Donnie M
euros.
also says, "Hey fellas, can you name any safeties in the AFC playing better than Delpit this year?"
You know we don't be watching no safeties like Bull say. We don't watch other teams.
Yeah.
Jags. The Jags say says
Cisco's really good.
Cisco's really good.
And the Rams, I mean not the Rams, the Ravens. Kyle Hamilton's really good.
Yeah.
Have you ever had the
Geno
alcohol
Stone's
Cisco
good.
before?
I'm not.
Oh, don't.
Don't.
Mike was telling me
Cisco.
I'm surprised that's what you didn't
Crazy.
say it. That analytically, Delpit's been lousy.
The analytics do not like Delpit, but
Yeah.
I
You're
didn't look.
usually on top of that.
I didn't look.
Yeah.
I'm not even gonna say the stats because it'll piss
Go
people
ahead,
off,
doesn't
so
matter.
We're gonna
He's
skip
fine.
those.
Go ahead.
They got him for 3 years, $36 million.
Fine.
That's market
And
price.
really,
It is
I
what
look
it is.
at it
Good
as
deal.
2 for 23. If they want an escape clause, they
Yeah,
have it.
they get out. I think
So
it's a
it's a 2
perfectly
for
fine
23.
deal.
It's fine.
Perfectly fine deal. Also, Charles T is in Germany, by the way. So
Oh.
Charles, shout out for watching from Germany. Shout out to everyone else watching, and we appreciate
That's
y'all. Everyone who's
crazy.
tuned in. It's a
How many
Victory
likes did we
Monday.
get? Did we get to 2,000 likes today?
Likes? No, we did not get to 2,000, but a solid number.
I'm
we
sorry,
hit 800.
Oh,
so-
you can't give you.
800?
Sorry, I keep.
Well, let's make a late push and get it to 1,000. Come
I-
on, if you're watching, hit the like
I-
button.
Still got
keep my
3,500 people watching, which means there's at least 2,700 in there who have not hit the like button.
Like
yet. Which
it.
means if you are, hit the like button. Also on Thursday, our first ever live remote show from Caesars and Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. You can catch us at 7 o'clock. Everyone will be there except
I said
Jake
this
because
thing
he
would
has to
go
work,
5-0.
and Tyvis because he lives in Columbus. But come check us out, the Sherman-Williams entrance at Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. It'll be a Cavs watch party. They're playing the Celtics that night. On the road, the Monsters are home, so it should be a packed house. Come hang out with us. And G. Bush, I'm going to bully him into bringing some free swag to give out. We're also going to bring some T-shirts to give out as well. So come hang out with us on Thursday night.
That's a funny visual. Mike bullying G. Bush. Yeah.
Get over here and
That's
get your shirts
unlikely.
out. Boy.
Don't underestimate me.
Is it true Kevin Stefanski's going to be there?
He should be.
Jason's coming. Jason, you want to tell Kevin to
Tell
roll through?
Stefanski to show up,
I'll
man.
tell him I'll pick him up on
Get
my way.
Wyatt Teller to come by.
I'll tell him I'm picking him
Come on,
up.
If
Wyatt.
you get Wyatt Teller to come by,
Big Wyatt Teller fans here. You should come by.
Now would be the appropriate time to remind everybody that those who drank Kool-Aid did.
Right.